rob these officials when they are leaving their premises. First was a raid on the home of the former finance minister, Ken Oforiatta, led by one Jakpa, Richard Jakpa, a known NDC activist who describes himself as Director of Operations at the National Security. The majority leader, when this matter came before Parliament, apologized on the floor of the House in respect of this lawless conduct. At dawn yesterday, specifically at 5 a.m., Mr. Richard Jakpa was at it again. This time, he led armed men to the residence of Dr. Addison, the former governor of the Central Bank. According to Jakpa, he had a warrant to search the premises of Dr. Addison at his Roman Ridge residence. Again, when Dr. Addison inquired from him, he told him that he was looking for a vault, which to them, the man had some money, cash in it. They forced their way, overpowered the security, and entered his premises. This Rambo-style approach must cease. This is the first time in the history of our country that a governor of a central bank is being subjected to such a treatment. Very traumatizing. In fact, at the end of their raid, they could not find anything. Unfortunately for the governor, some 10,000 cedis on his bed could not be found. So some of these hungry party foot soldiers that they use, who parade themselves as national security operatives, after all, perhaps not even being paid, and they use this opportunity to steal. The governor's wife's earrings and necklaces were also not traced. They couldn't be found. In other words, those operatives stole these earrings and necklaces. Ghana is a mature democracy, and we should do better.
Concerns are on two sides. There are a group of people who believe that the AG is actually being slow, and there's another group of people who are of the view that the AG is being aggressive. I mean, last night there were some searches conducted in some homes, and the views are divided. But I would like to assure the public that we are, as much as we can, pursuing persons who are believed or are suspected to have looted, state assets, being money or other properties. We are committed, and work is going on day and night for that to be done. Most importantly, we are also doing so within the framework of rule of law, because as you may know, there have been instances in the past where persons who are suspected have been treated, have been arrested in manners that don't comply with the rule of law, where violation of human rights and other laws have been broken just because people are suspected. We've also witnessed instances where people have been put on trial for years without any evidence and without any conviction, without any trial, and they wake up, go to court, and they are just spending money on lawyers. We are determined, and when I say we, I mean my boss, the Attorney General. He is of the view, his policy is that he will not put anyone before any court without having sufficient evidence to prosecute the person. So the reason for the delay we are seeing, or what most of the public are seeing as delay, is making sure that we get the right. We are not in the business, or we will not be in the business of putting people before the court and now seeking permission to go and look for evidence. At least we must have what we call sufficient evidence to be able to put people before criminal court.
Counsel, so you are saying the searches, including the BOG, former BOG governor, was sanctioned by your office?
So the offices, there are so many. So if you look at how government works, we work with other institutions, and people submit, complaints. So, but every search that you see, is part of the government framework to fight the corruption, and we'll take responsibility for the search that are happening, and we want to make it clear that those searches and the mode in which they were done in accordance with law. Warrants were procured and warrants were used to conduct those searches.
Well, that's Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Edem Sremsai there, giving details of exactly what happened the dawn of some 3 days ago. That there was a warrant for what the national security operatives are reported to have done, searching the private residence of the former governor of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Addison. The operation was carried out the dawn of Wednesday. Well, the sparked this controversy with some raising concerns about the procedural integrity and adherence to legal standards, for that matter, and how this warrant was carried out, because the Deputy Attorney General was quite clear that this search, or as has been described by some, the raid was carried out with a warrant. The opposition NPP, as you just heard, the minority leader, Alexander Afenyomarking, condemning this operation, describing it as heavy-handed, demanding accountability from security agencies, and in fact, alleging or making an emphatic statement that these security operatives stole money, 10,000 cedis, and some jewelry as well. You recall that when Ken Ofori-Atta's house was also searched by these security operatives, he also indicated that they went into his fridge, opened his fridge and so on. So, what exactly is the reality of the situation? The National Security, per their standard operating procedure, doesn't have the luxury of addressing a press conference to say what Afenyomarking said is not true. So what exactly happened? This morning, stay with us here on Key Point. We would get into this matter. As always, the next issue is illegal mining, because President John Mahama yesterday issued a directive barring government officials from engaging in any form of mining. Obviously, the illegal one, we can't talk about. Even the legal mining, he says no, with immediate effect. Now, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources has also indicated that licenses issued after December 7 to date revoked. But there's an issue that the civil society organizations in this country are not happy about. The fact that there was a promise to repeal the LI 2462. That's that law giving companies access to mine in forest reserves. That law, well, the process to review it has started in Parliament, but the promise to all of us was to have it repealed. So what has informed the change in direction of this promise? We'll get into this matter here on Key Point. Final matter this morning, which is a key concern to you, the Ghanaian people, is this week we also had to deal with the former Member of Parliament for the Dom Kwabenya constituency, Sarah Josepho. There's been a lot of drama around her. Some members of the MPP who are on her side are asking that she be allowed to speak. The party says, well, if you have any issues, we'll deal with it internally. She has been hauled before the National Disciplinary Committee of the party for flouting the party's directive but to what end? We'll touch on this matter this morning here on Key Point. As always, you are an integral part of the conversation. There are so many ways you can be part of the key points. These are the key issues that are of concern to you, the Ghanaian people. And we go straight to the point. And we'll, together with my guest, after this quick break, the conversation starts right now. Stay with us. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and on a number of radio stations across the country. And also, we are on radio stations in the United States, specifically in New Jersey and also Chicago. Thank you so much for joining us and the people in the diaspora. Also in the UK, we have a radio station also picking us as well this morning. So we say good morning to all of you out there. And also we're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279 and all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Ocansey. Now, this week, let's start off with the matter of illegal mining, because it's not only an election matter, it's one that threatens our very lives. And rightly so, the evidence of the destruction of illegal mining doesn't have to be underestimated. We're living it in this country in many, many, many ways. It's closer to you than you think. Well, this week, the Minister in charge of Lands and Natural Resources announced that mining licenses issued after December 7 are hereby revoked. This is Emmanuel Amakofiboa at the press conference 3 days ago. Take a look.
We announced at the beginning, when I took office, I went to Parliament and announced that 9 of our forest reserves were completely taken over by thugs who are destroying our forest. I'm proud to tell you, with the cooperation of the security agencies, the military, we have taken back 7 of these 9 forest reserves. And we are working very hard to make sure that the other 2 is completely also. So we are close to taking over our forest reserve. We are working day and night. All licenses, small-scale licenses that were issued from December 7th is hereby revoked. Whether you have EPA licenses, because the finding is very clear. Those licenses from December 7th were rushed, the due processes were not followed, and the right things were not done. There should be the process of a proper control and regulation of the imports of excavators. In 2024, the 3rd rank import into Ghana was excavators. This report is saying that as a matter of urgency, there should be a complete ban on the importation and fabrication of floating equipment and platforms used in mining on water bodies. We hear that even in some of these mining areas, there are fabrication shops fabricating, what do you call them, champagne fans on river bodies. This must be ruthlessly banned.
So that's the Minister in charge of Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofiboa Delembele, Member of Parliament. Well, this is it. This is statistics he gave himself a few weeks ago in Parliament, that total forest reserves we have in this country, 288 of them. Out of the 288, 44 have been invaded or, as it were, affected by illegal mining activities in this country. 44 out of this. In fact, the CSOC, it's more. It's more than 44, and we'll get into that. Also, apart from that, out of these 44, think about it. As of 3 days ago, or before 3 days ago, 9 of them had been totally taken over by illegal miners, that even forest guards or forestry commission officials couldn't have access to the forest reserves. And the illegal miners had taken total control of these forest reserves. Now imagine that. According to the minister, 7 out of 9 of these forest reserves have been taken over by the forestry commission officials. 2 of them are still in the hands of these illegal miners. It's like rebel leaders taking over a whole town. That this is ours, don't come. Total land size destroyed by illegal mining, 5,100 hectares and beyond. If you want to imagine this, some 7,500 football fields and more. Over 7,500 football fields. And these are the forest reserves that we know illegal mining is taking place. The Tano Nimri Forest Reserve, Tano Amian Forest Reserve, and the Etiwa Forest Reserve as well, and a few others. Well, the president, as part of his 120-day promise, made this as part of it. And we're going to put that on the screen. It says it's going to ensure a ban on illegal and new mining activities in forest reserves, and the rollout of the Tree for Life and Blue Water Initiative to transform degraded areas into economic and ecological recovery hubs. Well, the second one has been fulfilled, at least from what we saw this week and last week. These Blue Water guards have about 400 of them, we understand, undergoing training. So you take the box for this one. And then also the Tree for Life. Yesterday, the president launched this Tree for Life. So how different it is from the previous administration's initiative of planting trees every year. And at some point, we're going to see some of the seedlings somewhere in the bush. It's another matter we'll deal with. But if you look at, ticking the box, this second one, yes, the box has been ticked. But the first one, there's an issue. Illegal mining is still taking place in forest reserves in this country. So this promise within the 128 days of John Mahama has not been fulfilled as yet. This one, illegal mining is taking place. New illegal mining activities are taking place in forest reserves. And we have evidence to that effect. I'll take you to the Western North region. The Western North region, there's a forest reserve in the Western North region where illegal mining is taking place. We had to fly a drone to capture these illegal miners in the Western North region. And we'll show that to you as we go on. And that's the clear concern in there. Some of them were arrested this week. Others as well are still doing their work. That is the big concern. These are forest reserves. Actually, Daryl Bosu is Deputy National Director of Arocha Ghana. It's a civil society organization in the environment space in this country. Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner and a member of the Operation Recover All Load preparatory team. They are done with their work. We also have Professor Ransford Jampo is the CEO of the Shippers Authority. And Godwin Ejujita Maklo is the Director of Legal of the NDC and the CEO of the National Petroleum Authority. Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe is the convener of the Coalition Against Illegal Mining in this country. Also joining us, and would, as we go on, be joined by a few others who are going to join us for the next conversation. But I welcome you, Daryl. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Alfred. I trust you're good.
I'm doing well, except that obviously these are existential threats that we're faced with. And you've been in a number of these forest reserves. You say that the minister's account of these forest reserves, those who have been affected by illegal mining, could be more than just the 44 that they put out there, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Why is that?
Well, Alfred, good morning to you again, and also to cherished listeners. I think this discussion is very, very important because of how it is devastating our lives today and also the life of our future. I would say the future Ghana we are all looking forward to. But the issue is the fact that a lot of our forest reserves now are currently under siege, and there's a lot of information out there. And I have to say, Alfred, that all the information the minister is churning out, 44 forest reserves and all that, these were the situation even before they took office. So this mess, the kind of destruction to our forests, I have to say, they inherited it from the previous administration. And that is where sometimes I sympathize with them, because it gives them a lot of work to do. But like you said, I know that almost every forest reserve now in this country, and it's not only forest reserves in the south, it's also forest reserves in the north, most of them, there are activities of mining going on. But I guess the figures the minister was putting out was about the fact that these are the ones that are very seriously impacted. But it's very hard to say, to really find any forest reserve in this forest that you will not find some illegal, particularly those forest reserves in the southern part of the country. And this is where I think that when we are looking at the issues of mining, we need to pay a very critical look at all forest reserves, not just the few that we know, but even those ones where you have people, they are not in the forest with excavators. These are people who are artisanal miners. They go in with their pans and their shovels, and they are working understory. You will not see them cut a tree down. But these people will be working and gradually eating away at the foundations of the forest by digging under the roots, digging within the rivers. So you see that eventually, if you really take a critical look, you have more than 44 forest reserves affected by mining. And this is where we really need to be paying attention to when we are looking at not just those with the excavators that we see and all of that. And then on the point of those that were also fully taken over by armed gangs, I think, Alfred, the issue is, it's not about, when the minister says they've gone to reclaim it, I don't think it's about the fact that they've reclaimed the forest in its entirety.
What do you mean?
They've been able to get rid of the armed gangs who were preventing forestry officers from having access. I think, you know, we spoke about this some time back about how some gangs go and close off the entrance to the forest reserve, so even the forestry staff cannot have access to it. And this was what the problem was. So now, if they've been able to get rid of these gangs, now it's a matter of completely getting rid of all those very small activities in other parts of the forest. But I think it is very important to know that. And we really applaud the minister for taking the action to already get rid of these gangs. It then gives the way for the Forestry Commission to go in and do what they need to do in terms of getting rid of all those small activities really spread across most parts of the forest.
I say, if you say that, if the minister says, and I'm going to come to my other guests, but I just want to say it to you because you're saying that if the minister says there has been, these 7 out of the 9 have been retrieved from the illegal miners.
I think the word is retrieved, yes, yes.
It's not a total takeover. It may have been that it's still illegal mining taking place.
Yes, because, so I think the issue is about whether we have completely excluded mining from these forest reserves, which is very, very difficult to do. I think what is important is to take control of the forest reserve, and that's what they've done, which for me is a good start.
I see. And, well, the other issue here is whether or not this can be sustained, or the sustainability question about, because whenever this campaign is high and expectations are high, making demands, we see this action taken. But these activities of the illegal miners took place over a period.
Yeah.
And because they know this cycle, that, when the campaign is high, we'll have Forestry Commission officials moving there, they get them out, then they move to another place, right? So then they were able to get back in there. So is that a concern for you as well, seeing what is happening now?
You see, posture is everything. And I must say that we know that the current chief executive of the Forestry Commission is very, very committed to really securing the integrity of our forest reserves. So with the current development, yes, the team has gone in, the military, the police, with the Forestry Commission, they've gone onto the ground and raid these forest reserves of these armed acts, preventing the Forestry Commission people from doing their job. I think what is important, like you said, is sustaining the protection of these areas. And in doing that, it will require seriously resourcing the Forestry Commission so that even in the absence of central police or military, they can be able to do that. Right now, what we know is that the Forestry Commission already has very significant challenges with having logistics and even resources to deploy swiftly. And that is where we believe we need to focus attention. Because you cannot sustain this fight if you always have to wait for teams coming in from Accra or maybe from some regional offices. There are district offices of the Forestry Commission who are well placed, but all they need is significant resourcing so that they can be able to sustain and keep out the miners from these areas. So I think it's very, very important that sustaining the fight it's really decentralized. And I'm hearing that the Honorable Minister talked about empowering the MMDAs and the various entities to be able to do this. It's just about getting to see how this really is put into action.
Let me also acknowledge the presence of Godwin Ejujita-Maklo, is private legal practitioner. He is the Director of Legal for the NDC and CEO of the NPA, National Petroleum Authority. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
Also, Martin Pebo, let me also say private legal practitioner, as I indicated to you earlier. He has taken up a number of issues. In fact, he's in court on a couple of cases related to illegal mining. He is a private legal practitioner and a member of the preparatory team for oral. They've concluded their work. Well, Martin Pebo, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Morning, Mr. Ocansey. Good. It's good you mentioned. Daryl is my client. You know, we are fighting government of Ghana on the matter of the Etiwa forest. Can you imagine? The previous regime wanted to mine bauxite in the Etiwa forest. Such a huge forest with said rich biodiversity. You know, the forest has some species that cannot be found anywhere else in this world. And yet, Ikufo-Addo was bent on mining bauxite there. Thank God the MPP are out, and I'm sure GM has already made it clear that, look, he will have nothing to do with mining in forests. So that's good. So we are very grateful that, and the Ghanaian people, most especially, you see how in the last days, Professor Jampo and TUC waded in. Yeah. All of that helped in the drive to repeal the LI, okay? So let's see how it goes. And so, as usual, let me greet Sophia Kufu Yasantua. Yasantua says, yes, mining companies should pay more. You see the windfall tax, our own, that we'll call it, the 2% extra growth tax that's been placed on. We hope government will do more to take more from the mining companies because they make a lot more money, all right? And then, as usual, we'll greet Gamanche, Teku through the second. Kentucky Teku through the second. Good morning, Gamanche. We'll continue to laud you for your efforts to get justice in this Cecilia Dapa matter. And last week, you remember the matter I raised, this filtration contract. So Cecilia Dapa paid over 30 million euros without going to the Attorney General for the contract to be reviewed, etc. And so we are begging Dr. Ini to go hard on that matter. So it means that all the time that we're crying about Cecilia Dapa, not knowing the money that was found in her bedroom is not the only story. I mean, it's not the only matter which
So is this information available to the Attorney General?
Absolutely. You know, last week, where we mentioned it here, I'm sure he's heard it. And you know, in the course of the program, I sent you the Attorney General's opinion, Godfrey Dami's own opinion, dated where do we have it here? 4th March 2024. Can you imagine? So it means that Godfrey Dami knew about this matter 4th March 2024. So to December, that's practically 10 months.
Okay.
Yeah, it's even, a little over 10. Okay. And so Cecilia Dapa having paid over 30 million euros. She didn't even involve the water and sanitation agencies well. Mr. Vincent Kouagbenu is now in charge. You know, Vincent Kouagbenu is no nonsense. I hope Community Water and Sanitation Agency, CWSA. Right. So I hope Vincent Kouagbenu will push the Attorney General so that we'll get justice. Because it tells you that Cecilia Dapa is unrepentant too. Very, very unrepentant. When you read the Attorney General's opinion, you'll be sad for Ghana.
Plus, we'll get into matters of corruption
and
going
TV3
forward
did a
well.
story on it. So please, if you want to read more about the opinion, the bad things Cecilia Dapa did in this contract, go on their website. You will see the story.
We'll deal with this matter and more as we go on, because there are also matters of corruption and other related issues that we'll get into as well. So let me also welcome, but before going on Zoom, Professor Ransford Jampo is joining us, as I indicated earlier. He's with us in the studio. Good morning, Professor Jampo. Thank you for joining us.
Morning, Alfred. Good morning to an MPP full soldier, a friend of mine, Bright Lambongan Lofty, a very good and loyal former student too.
I see.
I hope wherever you are watching, and keep up the good work. You are studying, focus, make the best out of the opportunity you have to study. You know, Bright, Alfred, in several policy statements, this new government has indicated its intention to bring down the cost of doing business in Ghana. And recently, we all heard how some taxes have been abolished in the budget statement. Now, within the shipping sphere, there's been several interagency collaboration and cooperation between we at the Ghana Shippers Authority, the GAPOHA people, the Ghana Maritime Authority, the Customs Division of the GRA, to identify some of the needless factors that accentuate the cost of doing business in Ghana. Under the able leadership of our Minister of Transport and with the support of His Excellency, the President of the Republic, we are fired to do more to bring down the cost of doing business and to protect the interest of shippers and indeed all stakeholders within the shipping fraternity. Very soon, I'm saying shippers would see the tangible outcomes of the interagency collaboration and cooperation I'm talking about. And I know some people who have over the years benefited from and made some financial gains from the inefficiencies in the shipping system may not be happy as we address the challenges. We can understand and we will dialogue with them on the need for us to project the interest of the generality over the interest of just few people. So we'll champion generally the interest of shippers forcefully and proactively by reducing the cost of doing business, by halting the threats of some to relocate their businesses to other neighboring African countries, and also by improving international trade that has over the years served as one of the key sources of revenue for national development. Now, this important point having been made.
In fact, I have a statement from the importers and exporters before me, which we will deal with.
Okay.
And that's why I was drawing your attention to.
Okay.
Because this is an issue they brought to my attention.
Yeah.
So since you are here,
the high cost of doing business,
you will have to answer that.
Yeah, no worries.
You will deal with that.
Oh, no.
We will deal with that later. So
let me make my preliminary remarks as we've always been making. Okay, so this important point having been made. Listen, I am told that within the circles of the MPP, a meeting was held and a resolution was passed that I, Ransford Jampo, I am the one who caused the electoral defeat in the 2024 elections. And so their response to me is that there should be several attacks and publications of bad news, false news, and propaganda, against me. So you can see that over the last couple of days, there's been several senseless lies that have been peddled, against me. None of these lies, is true. Number one, I've not gone to buy any massaging chairs. Number two, I've not sacked any 30 people who were recruited between 2017 and 2023. I've not done any of these. I cherish the confidence that President Mahama reposed in me. And I cherish the confidence that a lot of teeming Ghanaians have in me. And I assure them that I am smarter than the naysayers. And so I will not do anything untoward to undermine the confidence that President Mahama reposed in me. And then I'll not do anything that will make Ghanaians disappointed. But let me say this. So if you see these negative publications on social media about me, by default know that it is coming from faceless cowards and who are still bleeding. But on social media, they say bleeding is allowed. Now, see, when Fifi Kwete was the propaganda secretary of the NDC, a lot of people in the MPP. They didn't like it. But upon sober introspection, if you cast your mind back, you see that this man went about setting the record straight with wisdom, intelligence, and knowledge in a propagandistic manner. Okay, so he did it with intelligence, wisdom, and knowledge. Okay. Now, please wait, let me finish. Alfred, I'm rounding up. But you see, the kind of propaganda that is being done today by the MPP only goes to show the level of intelligence that they have. Okay, people who claim to go to school and they didn't learn anything. So, dear Ghanaians, see how the current MPP, you know, that has no leader, is still ignorantly questioning your intelligence. How can one person run, for example, cause my views? How can my views reflect the entire decision of the good people of Ghana? So let me say that if me, a small man like me, if I am powerful enough to push an entire government that has entire state machinery at its disposal, that has all the resources at its disposal, if I am powerful enough to push them out of government, then I should be super powerful to maintain them in opposition in perpetuity. Because now they don't have money, now they don't have power. And so the battle line is drawn. We'll keep you in opposition in perpetuity.
You made your point.
I don't like to fight, but I don't hate to fight. Some of them have come to me to beg me that focus on your work and forget about MPP. I will do so, but I'm telling you that I am not your regular professor. I'm not your regular CU. I can be calm, I can be gentle, but I can also be unconventional. And so I'll meet them boot for boot. I'll focus, but where necessary, if I have to hit at them, I will do it harder with the view to ensuring that those who know next to nothing about governance are kept out of the corridors of power, particularly if they fail to rid themselves of Nana Akufo-Addoism and the tendencies of recruiting people on social media and paying them 100 cedis a month so that they go to be insulting people that they are supposed to be learning from.
Taking note of your disregard for my promptings. I am going to also take out the number of minutes you have used. For this. No. For example, I'm going to take the number of minutes that you have used for this. I'll take it out of your time. I just want to put that on record. Let me also bring in Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe. He is the convener of the Coalition Against Galamsey. Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey, one of the conveners. Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe, good morning. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and good morning to your guest in the studio. But Professor Kampu, please, let's also not Galamsey with the time of the program. Let's.
Chen.
when the host
I think it's on record at least, so that we all bear witness
the time of program
to what I'm going to do now.
I have to make my point.
Okay, so let me because I recall that. Yes,
Alfred, I think everybody had the opportunity for relief.
Indeed,
we have to make
indeed. No, let me.
This is how the program is done.
Focus.
Please, the program belongs to us.
Gentlemen, let's stay focused. Gentlemen, we have a conversation on the table. Let's stay focused. Now, before the election, this matter was key, and that's why I started the conversation with Darrell about what has been done so far in the fight against illegal mining. That 120-day promise that John Mahama gave, one of it, as we put on the screen, was to fight illegal mining in forest reserves. I'm going to show you this drone video of illegal mining activities in forest reserves. Just 3 days ago, we took these drone videos. Let's put that on the screen right now. And we got these videos 3 days ago. This is it. And this is in the Western North region. this happened or is happening in the Western North region as we speak. We have made these videos available to the persons in authority and those who have to act. And the question is, what has to be done next? Beyond the assurances and the talk. Darrell, you say that yes, there has been some progress made, but a lot more needs to be done, especially because of the evidence of what we are seeing. Engineer Dr. Kanashigbe, I bring you in here at this point on the forest reserves that we're talking about now and the promise that the minister, in fact, has made to, as it were, fight Galamsey head on going forward. Now, the minister says this renewed approach by this administration in the fight against legal mining is to unmask the people who own these excavators. How much of an impact will that make?
Well, thank you very much. I see that the program does not belong to me, so you didn't give me opening comments.
Forgive me.
I would let it slide. So, you know the interesting thing, I just shared a video with you. And the video are some 3 excavators that are being dragged out of the forest, Tano Nimri Forest Reserve yesterday. And this was because some journalists had gone there to do a program and they had gone with the Forestry Commission people. So yes, it is true. The minister talks about liberating about 7 out of the 9 forests. You know, so that means that now the Forestry Commission people are able to go into it. But actually, you shared with those drone footages, people are still going into these forests and mining is happening. So as the team leaves one particular forest reserve and goes to another, or at another a particular part of the forest reserve, the people are going to other parts. The question I ask myself is that where is the local authority in there? Because you see, excavators are not like mobile phones you put in your pocket and you smuggle in anywhere. Excavators, these are heavy equipment, they don't move fast. You can see in the video I'm telling you, so these are forests, very high trees, but you can see the top of the excavators. So what I would urge our local authorities is the fact that they on the ground should be supporting. It is the reason why for us, the state of emergency in the forests, on the water bodies are still important. And it's the reason why, though the minister, and let me also put it on record, I believe this minister is very well intentioned. And we also are beginning to see some very positive actions that are being taken. And one of them is what you mentioned, the issue about using the excavators to come back, track back to those who are the owners of the excavators. Because you see, the thing about it is that the excavator is laden with a lot of evidence. If you take the VIN number or the chassis number, you will find who imported it into the country. You will be able to trace who they sold it to. You will be able to trace who they rented it to. And so that is a positive step in the fight against Galamsey. But why the president would not want to impose the state of emergency so that when they go in and liberate particular forest, the place can be stay liberated, the police people in those communities can do what they ought to do, you know, I'm not too sure about that. So definitely that is a positive step. And not only should we be looking at these excavators and finding them, the former government, one of their major failures was the fact that they had started a pilot project that they worked on with the School of Mines professors, where in the pilot, the excavators that they were tracking, they could see the locations of those excavators from a control room in Accra, and they actually could geofence it. So I don't know why this government is also taking too long a time. We need to operationalize that project immediately and make sure that all excavators in this country attract the geofence. So if you're a mining company, then what they do is that they take your concession, and with geofence excavators, it cannot move beyond those particular times. Let me tell you, this week, the Forestry Commission people went into a particular place, seized 11 excavators, because they did not have the equipment to move them out, and the people had taken the control board. By the time they left the place and came the next day, they had tracked those excavators out. It is the reason why His Excellency's direction that they should not burn the excavators. I think that His Excellency should rethink that. The burning of the excavators is not the best thing that you would do. But because if you look at the NRCD law on, I think that 1979 NRC law, section 4.1, it talks about the fact that the Forestry Commission should prevent the committing of a crime within, these forest reserves. But when you go into these places like had happened recently, where you go and see these excavators, and these people, they have a crew of Chinese people who are able to, they would immobilize the excavators themselves such that you will not be able to move it. If you leave them there and you don't further immobilize them, what is going to happen is that you are going to permit these people to either come back and mine later on in the evening. That would mean that that particular section of the law, you will not be obeying it. Or you allow them to come and track it out. And you know the interesting thing, once they track it out of the forest reserves, because there's no state of emergency around those places, the Forestry Commission cannot touch it. Though they would have known that and they can see the tracks that, this thing had come out, but it's not in the forest reserve. So His Excellency should allow that if they are not able to move them, if they don't have any low loaders, then either putting salt in the engine, either, cannibalizing them, but whatever they do, they should be able to make sure that they completely immobilize them. Each of those excavators costs not less than $200,000. So if you do that, that hits them directly, and then it prevents them from doing that. So I believe that that particular initiative of saying that, let's use the evidence in the excavators to be able to trace it back. And I know on one of the radio or TV stations, one of your colleagues was asking me, most of these criminals, who some of them are people politically exposed, some of them are even political persons, they will not use their names to register. But if you trace and look for the source of the money, where the money, because Kenneth Ashigbe, it was me, Alfred, I was talking to you about it. You and I, if the excavators are registered in a name, me and you, we know we don't have $200,000 to go and buy an excavator. Somebody would have given us the money. We can trade.
Sorry. We'll try to reconnect with Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe there. Yes, Engineer, you froze a bit. You were making the point about the traceability and how this could impact on the fight. Quickly.
Yeah, so I was just saying that, so what they should do is that we should look for the source of the funding. So that if the excavators are registered to my name, Kenneth Ashigbe, for example, and everybody knows I don't have $200,000 to be able to go and buy an excavator, they should trace the money, go to FIC, be able to find out where the money came from, so that we can find the beneficial owners. So those excavators that have been seized, we are waiting for the minister to publish the names of all of the people who imported them into this country. And then as they track them and find out who, actually the beneficial owners are, then we know that these are the people who are doing it. So I think that for me, those are one of the positive measures. But if you will just permit me, there are a few of the measures that for me, apart from the state of emergency that is making the work of the minister more difficult, there's also this issue of thinking that, when we arrest foreigners, we should not jail them. The minister was in Parliament in 2019 when the Minerals and Mining Act was amended and the sanctions were made severe, and that for foreigners was increased and was very harsh. And the minister was also in Ghana when Aisha Wan was supposed to have been deported. What happened? Aisha Wan came back again into this country. The former president was not even sure whether the woman was deported. So when you deport them, our borders are so porous that these people will come back. So for me, that's one of the policies that are bad. What we should do is that these people, we should be jailing them. We should call out the Chinese and the other foreigners who are involved in this, jail them. And now we should start. The Ghana embassy in China, when they are giving you your visa, like the way the Malaysians should do. When you go and take a Malaysian visa, they stamp in it and they tell you that when you take any drugs to Malaysia, it's death sentence. We should also be stamping in that, and we should stop giving them visa on arrival in Ghana. And stamp in their passport.
Well, but you're saying that you support the banning of the excavators. I mean, the control board of the excavators, even though the president thinks otherwise. How much of an impact in terms of solution will that contribute in terms of, if you say, your support for the banning of the control board of the excavators?
So again, when I say banning, it should be last resort. It should be burning. It should be other engineering ways of immobilizing them. It will be major. So what would have happened is that, like in the example I gave you this week, where 11 excavators were seized but left in the forest reserves, and they came back. That is 200,000 times 11. If you do your math, that's $2.2 million. If you hit anybody, $2.8 million, the person would feel it. What will happen is that not only would he feel the financial loss, but he will not have that equipment of mass destruction again to be able to take back into the forest reserves. Let me tell you, there was one of the forest reserves that they went in and they found excavators in. We kept the military 4 nights in the forest reserve trying to make sure that it's protected. So that would be a significant effect in terms of the fight, especially in the absence of the state of emergency, especially in the light of our police people who have shown that they are not, some of them have shown that they are not committed to the fight. Because how do these excavators move in these communities and they do not see them? So all I'm just saying is that the president should not take out of the arsenal of the Forestry Commission people, the ability to permanently immobilize and destroy excavators they find in places that they are not able to move out. If they can move them, that is fine.
Okay, but why do you question the police's commitment in the fight against corruption? Because illegal mining. Because yesterday, the IGP gave a direct order to all the commanders in these areas where illegal mining is taking place to go full scale in the fight against galamsey in there. Are you saying some of them are compromised?
Alfred, so this is one of the latest positive steps that are coming on, where the IGP says that he's declaring a state of war because we are in a war situation. If you take even the words of the minister who says that they've reclaimed and taken control over 7 out of the 9, what it means is that 2 portions of Ghana's land, landmass, has been taken over by armed militias, most of whom are foreigners. So that is a war that is taking place. But you see, Alfred, this war has been going on for a very long time. And it is now that the new IGP is talking about the declaration of war. One of my suggestions to the Minister of Interior, who is working together with the Lands Minister, is that he should reshuffle all police commanders. Police commanders that are in the areas where galamsey is taking place. Some of them, galamsey is taking place a few meters away from their police stations or their houses. These people have become very rich. Some of them have become very rich. Or if they have not become rich because they are complicit in it, then they are competent. They are incompetent. So in any which way that you find it, you need those people we have to take them away. The same way the Minister for Interior said that if any of these police people, when they arrest Chinese, they don't send their names for them to deal with them, then they would transfer them to places where they see Chinese no more. The IGP should transfer every police commander whether divisional district, station commander, who is in any place where Galamsey is taking place, that he did not do anything about it. That policeman is either being corrupted, he is rich, or he is he's incompetent and he is not worthy of representing the IGP in that particular community. Let me, a typical example is Enyinem. How is the Enyinem police people still at post? When very close to the police station, Galamsey happens on the river behind them. When a few meters close to their office, chamfans are manufactured close to those places. There are police people who chamfans were found in their houses. Ask yourself, the Minerals and Mining Act or any of the act, did they say that when you're a policeman and you confiscate a chamfan, you take it to your house? No. I can tell you for a fact that the former Eastern Regional Police Commander, when he has operations in some of those places, he does not go with the local police because the local police were compromised. So it is one of the major things that needs to be done is to cure this thing of the complicity or incompetence of police people who are in these theaters of these, genocide and ecocide that is happening. They should be transferred and put into places, where they will not see any mining activity happening. And if they are found to be culpable, they should be investigated and punished according to law.
I see. Would you support this call for the transfer of these commanders, police commanders in these areas where illegal mining is taking place? Because some will say it's just transfer really may not be a solution to this. Because you are just transferring one person from one place to the other. If the problem is systemic, you would only just transfer another police into a systemic corruption.
Maybe to put it this way, if you want to cure somebody's alcoholic,
no.
You change their drinking spot.
What did you say? You said if you want to cure someone's alcoholism, you don't change the drinking spot.
But this is just one of several strategies.
I'm just trying to understand if really, if that's going to...
It will help. It will help.
But it's a very good strategy.
What it does, especially, you see, the Enyinem one is one that I've monitored on a number of stations. People, journalists keep complaining that about 300 meters away, in plain sight from the police station, there is Galamsey ongoing, right? And yet the commander is still there. No, I support the call that he should go. And the other, there should be a reshuffle. You see, when you reshuffle them, one, there is a chance you will get somebody, a new commander who has zero tolerance for Galamsey, okay? And then two, even if you don't get such a commander, when you send a new person, the way crime is usually committed, when the new one comes, even if he's minded to aid in the Galamsey activities, he will need some time to adjust, to watch his mirrors, to see how to operate. So in that context, because you need that time, at least it will bring some, what do you call it, lull. It will bring some ceasefire within that period. But let's change. And I'm sure the police service is full of men of integrity. Of course, the bad nuts are also there. It's just like every society. Even where you choose them carefully in very noble professions, you still get them. I mean, every profession in this world, you will still find them, right? So I don't think that... the transfer of the police commanders is not useful. In actual fact, it will be very beneficial. At least it scatters not just them, and also the men under them who have gotten accustomed to the Galamseyers. So it should be wholesale transfer. If you transfer the commander alone and leave the very men, often the commander doesn't go to aid. It's the boys they send. The boys who go, then aid them, then do sales, then they come and account to the commander. So if you just send only the commanders away and leave the men who go to aid, then you haven't done much, because when the new commander comes, all he has to do is just sit in the office and these same boys will go and come. Often those monies, one man no chop from their operations. One man no chop. There is no way you constable or corporal or what, you go to a Galamsey side, go and take money and then come and wax lyrically. No. No, one man no chop. There's a way. Even when we're younger, they used to have a way. Hey, I haven't greeted IGP Yonu. Yeah, the new sheriff in town. IG, good morning. But this joke is not with respect of yours. We hope that your leadership will be what? out of this world. We are hoping that everything your predecessor couldn't do, you will do. And especially our chairman, Wuntumi Mata, the Akunta mining one. You know, engineer Ken Ashigbe, who is on the show with us, myself, Kwame Saponsedu, and Adam Senanu, we presented a petition to the CID against Akunta mining and Chairman Wuntumi, the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the MPP. It's over 2 years now, and the case hasn't gone to court. So IG will be coming to your this office to remind you, you weren't in charge, but I mean, now you are in charge. That case has to go. Then we'll go to Attorney General too. But the point I was making is that, you know, when we're younger, we had the monies that police take, etc. There's a way, there's a sharing formula that it will go up, even to the desk of the IG. I'm sure people have heard this.
Well, it still remains a joke.
Some of these anecdotes, be careful.
Can you see this?
Yes. They said there is a sharing formula, sir. Yeah, it gets to the top. Don't play with it. So it's to buttress the point that, please, IG, you know, when you are changing the commanders in your name, Ayamfuri, and that the Sefi area there is bad. Ayamfuri too. Look, it's crazy. Some of my lawyers are telling me that, look, you'll find the NDC Galamseyers on one side of the town, the road, and then the MPP people at the other end. Galamsey, plain side, Ayamfuri. It's another spot, all right, or another town, etc. So please, let's give IGU all the support it deserves. And so it should start with the transfers. The transfers are very, very important. And then the cases that are pending, especially, can you imagine if this Chairman Wuntumi matter goes to court? You know the chilling effect it will have. Then it will send a message to the small fishes that, look, even a regional chairman of the MPP is in court. I know James said it. You know, that was the context in which he once said that when he comes, he will free the Galamseyers who have been caught. And then the political spinners took it, the spin doctors took it out of context. Because let's make this last point. He was saying that catch the big fishes, deal with the big fishes, and then the small fishes will fall in place.
In fact, that was actually going to be my message. Because if we're dealing with, and I'll come to you, in a bit. But if we're dealing with, for instance, using the chassis number as a way of tracing the financiers, how far-reaching will that be? That much, but especially when these so-called big men and influential people who are financing this illegality will certainly not put their names on traceable documents. I mean, there's a beneficial ownership concept where these people would have other people's names as the owners of the excavators. So how are you going to identify these people? Just
good. So what happens is that, one, as you mentioned, beneficial ownership. So the Registrar General, right, brought that new way of registering companies. That yes, the company may be in the name of Darrell, but if I'm the owner, Darrell in registering has an obligation to disclose the true owner, right? Yes. So even if the company is in the name of Mr. X, in the same form, he has to disclose the true owner. But the truth to be told is that our systems are so weak. So it appears, yes, beneficial owner on paper, but in practice, it's more complex. People are dodging, right? But what engineer Ashigbe is saying, we actually passed a law that will track these excavators. So whoever it is, whoever's name is being put there, it's a lot of money. So if, let's say, you are the big man, you've bought each excavator, let's say the $200,000 we are using for the purpose of this program. You've bought it and you put it, let's say, in the name of, is it 9 pence? That's 9 pence, right? So if you put it in the name of your cameraman, 9 pence, and 9 pence has, that's Evans. Is that 9 pence or Evans?
That's Evans, actually.
Evans, so cameraman, Evans. So if Evans has 10 excavators in his name, so that's $2 million, right? If we catch all the 10 excavators and you won't come out, sure. So it's Evans who will continue dealing with. So all engineer Ken Ashigbe is saying is that, so Evans has his name on the 10 excavators, but Evans is in Accra, and somebody else comes to rent and take, let's say, the excavators to Ayamfuri. So the excavators are caught in Ayamfuri. What we're saying is that, yes, so it will be traced to Evans. If the real owner is still hiding behind Evans, I know there's a way you can investigate and get to the real owner. But even assuming we are not getting to the real owner, at least the fact that we've traced to Evans, it means that we will take Evans on by the law.
Yeah.
We'll take Evans on. So that's not bad. You see, so it's not as if there is no law at all. The law we pass, the LI, to track that when they come in, they will put in the tracker. Yeah, so implement it. So everywhere the excavator is, we will see. Because the tracker having been put on the excavators, and then they can be monitored from Accra. Anywhere we see wherever the excavator is going, we'll see. And so we can even immobilize it. So there's a lot of technology. What we are lacking, but at least so far the government says, the minister says they've taken back 7 forests, is the political will. That is where the main problem is. It's not that we lack solutions. We have a lot of solutions. It's just the political will. And so what we need to do is to do what we are doing now, keep pushing the politicians. You see, the minister has been going to the forest. He says they've taken over 7. Except that the 7 he says they've taken, maybe Mr. Amabua, what you should be doing is that I think they should add journalists. Journalists should be embedded in the teams so that independent journalists will come and report. Because when Mr. Amakufibua said that they've recovered 7 of the forests, Erasmus, Asaredonko, who has done a lot of work in this area, indeed, he said he would have been happy if the minister had mentioned which forest, because you know he's independently also doing work there. Then he can corroborate or otherwise. Because then in the program he also put to mention that there were some of the forests that as recent as about a week or 2 ago, there were activities there. So when Mr. Amabua, the minister, said they had recovered 7 of the forests, so, and based on what Erastus Asaredonko is saying, then we're left wondering, is Mr. Amabua saying that all the 7 were recovered, let's say, in the last 6 days? We didn't get those details. So what we are saying is that it will help in your work, Mr. Amabua, that you embed journalists in the teams, so that the journalists will also capture, of course, independent journalists. You remember in this Galamsey fight, there are some journalists who have aided it. You remember the Mante,
this was captured in the Professor Frimpong.
Yes, so it tells you that when you see evil going on such a mass scale, you find so many different professionals aiding it. This is organized crime. So don't be sad. Of course, just as you find journalists, you find lawyers, you find doctors, you find, I mean, it's, for this problem to be on such a mass scale, I tell you, you find different professionals and technocrats helping in this, right? So it's good that, all the point I'm making is that, so I was talking about independent journalists, journalists who have a track record of being independent and having integrity. So that when they come out and tell us that, yes, I was embedded in this team, the team went to Tanon Imri Forest, and this is what happened, I'm sure then we'll take some comfort in it. But when the politician alone comes to say that, and especially as Erasmus, who has been doing some work, is raising some doubts, then you're like, hey, is this political talk or it's real? You say, because, I mean, in fact, the Galamsey problem is bigger than Amakufibua. The minister, yeah, the Galamsey problem is bigger than him. So it takes the whole of our society. So if you are setting up a team and sending only soldiers and police, then it tells you that, no, your team is not complete. Your team is not complete. And even there is a way they can even set up so that wherever they are, we will get this, what do you call it, feed, live feed. Yes, whilst they are there. Of course, when I say live feed, it doesn't mean put it on TV. But people will be somewhere monitoring.
I get the intent.
Yes.
So the whole idea is to carry the people along.
Perfect.
So that in every step of the way, it's not so much going to be about what you government officials are saying. It is what we can also see for ourselves. Because, yes, indeed, these 7 forest reserves that have been reclaimed, which forest reserves are those? We know about 4 or 5 of them based on the work of Erasmus and other journalists and my colleagues here, Godwin Asedeba and others, that we know illegal mining is taking place there. But if there's been this retrieval or reclamation, let us know. It helps all of us, does it not?
Okay. So, so once again, I just want to thank my colleagues, my senior brother, Mr. Adam, who is joining us via Zoom, and my able co-panelists and your good self. And first of all, the viewers and listeners here, they listen to this program and watch it religiously.
Indeed.
And
That's why we are number one.
I want to appreciate them for that religiosity. You see, that said, there's also a very big woman who has really helped me in my forward march in life, and I want to wish her a happy birthday. She is a member of the Council of State. When I was in the legal director, she was the chair of our legal committee, Madam Betty Modi Drisu. Today happens to be her birthday, and I wish her long life. Now, you see, that said, the issues involving Galamsey, I think we've come to the conclusion that our drug trade is Galamsey. Galamsey today has been elevated to the status of drug trade. One, the reward is massive. Either a kilo or an ounce of gold today is $74,000. How many bags of maize would you harvest to get $74,000? How many crates of egg can you harvest to get $74,000? So it is when you look at the economics, that is when you begin to appreciate why the fight is becoming another problem on all of us. Mm-hmm. It is until you take time and look at how in God's name would a man who had looked after his children, they've completed university, one morning wake up and decide that he will sell his cocoa farm to Galamseyers. What will cause that? Look, the accounts have a saying, Edidida, any didi prekum. There's a reason for that saying. The cocoa farm had provided sustainable income for you for 30, 40 years. In fact, generations. You know, without cocoa, we won't have University of Ghana. Prof is here. The seed money, the foundational money for the establishment of the University of Ghana today is cocoa. The toils of farmers. And that is why one of the halls is named, and he was, you know. The point I am making is that...
was their song.
The point I am making is that we need to appreciate first the economics. What will make a farmer wake up one morning and decide that I will sell my cocoa farm for Galamseyers to come and excavate the earth and leave the place terrible? The economics. So until maybe we find livelihood support systems that can provide the same level, this fight may appear to be a bit more prolonged. You see, it is convenient, and like we do, to say it is lack of political will. President Mahama, having assumed the leadership of this country, and with the benefit of hindsight, I recall vividly, President Mills has negotiated the 3 billion Chinese facility to build a lot of projects and others, including Etuabo and many. Now, President Mahama takes over and started fighting the Galamseyers with Honorable Inusa Fuseni, which resulted in the deportation of over 1,000 Chinese nationals. The Chinese had the courage to say that this mass deportation, and among others, it resulted in the delay in the disbursement of the Chinese facility, the 3 billion. Apparently, gold was going back to China more than cocoa. Remember that it is cocoa that we use as part of the seed money for the Bui Dam. And so we needed to escrow the cocoa receivables to be able to pay the Bui Dam, the money we use for Bui Dam. But when they compare how much gold was coming to China compared to how much cocoa was given to them, gold was doing far better. But President Mahama took that political risk, the political decision to deport Chinese nationals. It never went well until he left power in 2016 with bulk of the CDB loan outstanding. Because the Chinese said, okay, you continue with your fight. We'll also see what we'll do with our money. First of all, you cannot go to China, like me, to do illegal mining in China. Because the penalty there is death. Yesterday, I met students, geological students in KNUST, on this same mining thing. I was encouraging them that possibly they should come out with innovative ways. Look, when Don Diego de Azambuja came here, he was motivated by gold. Why? Why do we have Elmina, the mine? The mine, yeah. It's because of mining. We have always been doing mining. What has created a problem, an engineer would tell you, is the skill of the distraction. So nobody is against mining in and of itself. The problem is the skill. Our people have always engaged in mining, and that is why they got the name Galamsey, gather and sell. You understand? Right. It is from this word gather and sell, because people have always engaged in mining, but the skill of distraction, the greed associated with what we have. Our people were doing surface mining many years ago. Yes. But look at the distraction of our forest. It was minimal.
So how are these solutions going to work? I mean, really, the proposal made so far about tracking...
no, so that is where I am coming there. You see, if 2 or more people are just doing surface mining, the level of distraction is always minimal. It is when they bring the excavator into the conversation, and the excavator is a mindless machine. Mindless. Once it starts its work, within a day, and you see, because when you rent them out, you pay per day, the people want to excavate more F within the day. Yeah. And so that is what encourages the scale of distraction. Because if you are taking a day $2,000 to rent one excavator for a day, you want to work so much in order to fill in that $2,000 rent. So it is something that we also need to look. The tracking devices, look, it's quite a good thing to do. Because like somebody say, excavator no get leg. Somebody they carry up. Right? Nice. So you can always trace the machines. The payloaders that come to pick them, we know where they are. Right? Yeah. So in terms of the value chain, it is easier to identify the kingpins who are behind whatever is happening. If you recall during the campaign, H.E. the president made a point that, look, if you go to the pit and you find 15 people arrested, there's somebody who is going to get them the lawyer. In the 1990s to the 2000s, that was how the drug trade flourished. The big boys were behind. They will send you the couriers, right? And you know, for the drug trade, Ghana, we don't produce cocaine. The cocaine comes from South America through the vessels. They come to Ghana, and we do the transshipment to the other markets where the real consumption takes place. You understand?
Some consume here too.
Oh, I mean, when it comes to consumption, it's Europe and America. Now, the issue is that, you see, the issue is that at that time, what was happening is that the big boys who were behind, who go to the universities and others, pick the young people, give it to them, they get arrested. The same big boy will go and get you a lawyer. Until around 1995, you remember the famous case of Benjilo?
Yeah.
Benjilo, so yes. When law enforcement officers zoomed on the big boys, it slowed the conversation. So the Republic versus Benjilo, read the facts. How in those days they could put Osebonsu, alias Benjilo. If you read my Lord Justice Atugba's reasoning and their modus operandi, it's the same thing with Galamsey. So until the big boys in the conversation are put to book or you bring them under the control of law enforcement officers, we're just joking. Like you see, you pointed out, yes, it is a fine proposal to suggest to the IGP to change his commanders. All they need is 6 months waiting period. And they'll ingratiate.
Ingratiate meaning what? Just put it in plain language.
Ingratiate.
You say it. No. I know what they're saying, but so they would be what? They attempt to compromise them.
It's a powerful
to bribe
force.
them.
It's a powerful force.
Oh, no, it's a
You see, so we need to have a holistic, not the holier than thou conversation about how to eradicate this. One, by looking at the economics. The young people who really do the mining. Look, from February 2025 till date, under the watch of President Mahama, we have arrested no less than 300 persons involved in Galamsey. 300. That is how ruthless law enforcement officers have dealt with the phenomenon.
We have some videos of those arrests. We'll put it on
Perfect.
TikTok.
But you see, is that enough? People say, no, let's go further. I am aware. And yesterday I listened to my senior brother, Engineer Adam, on one of the news out. You know, when the Honorable Mutaka, the Interior Minister, suggested that we may be looking at a situation where immediately after everything, we have to deport, particularly the foreigners. We will not waste precious time in prosecuting them. Just deport them. But engineers suggested that, look, our borders are porous. They'll go and come back. Yeah. We have the famous case or infamous case of Aisha Wan. She was actually deported. But not long, she came back and she was embedded in this country without anybody knowing until finally law enforcement officers actually zoomed on her. You understand? One young person or journalist who had really helped this cause is Erastus Asaredonko. I think I need to single him out for particular praise. The risk he's taken in order to get this fight going. Obviously, the media coalition against Galamsey have done a seriously good job in this fight. But you see, Alfred, the concept of beneficial owners. Myself and my learned senior here, we have been defense attorneys in white-collar crimes. It is not easily traceable. So you come say...
That's where the concern is.
Yes, so
that's why
I'm coming.
I raised the issue.
Yes, so I'm just looking at this. Asset tracing is an extremely difficult job when it comes to white-collar crimes. Yes, of course, you go to the company registration. The beneficial owner is the same person who registered or incorporated it. I don't need to have my face or my name on company registration to be beneficial owner. So the concept that beneficial owners ought to be listed in company documents to demonstrate that they are beneficial owner is a misconception. Why? Because to be the alter ego, which flows from the concept of beneficial ownership, it simply means who finally get the reward. Must I have my name on company registration to be the ultimate beneficiary of the outcome or the process of crime? No.
Okay.
No. So that in and of itself is a legal construct. But that legal construct does not solve the problem. Because all that you need to know is that this person appreciates that I put him to this task. And so at the end of the day, he will come and what? Do sales. But I don't need my name to be on document or to be listed as the beneficial owner in order to come to this. Then the question of the LI.
We'll come to that. I don't want to just go.
Oh, very.
Yeah, we'll come to that. No. Because you mentioned, no, we'll come to the LI. The big boys that you talk about, whom this whole objective or this new approach to the fight is to unmask the big boys and get them arrested. You cite...
No, I'm saying that, you see, in the past, I equate it to the drug trade.
The drug trade.
And in the 1990s, too.
No, I got the point.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that these big boys you talk about, some of them are politicians.
Yeah.
Who are funded. In fact, some of them have also had political parties funded.
You know, yesterday at KNUST, I raised a concern that we may have galamseyers electing the next president of this republic.
So you appreciate that?
What can you do?
We may have galamseyers electing the next president.
They've been doing already,
the
but they are
dynamics of how people are funded is very complex. You have even seen people who own shops in certain district capitals who come together, find resources, and rent
they can actually say that
and give it to people.
They can actually say
politicians.
They can actually say that.
I'm driving at the
this
point.
president or this MP, you've not really helped our work.
Yeah.
And so they will mobilize resources.
Yeah.
One, they'll remove you at the party delegates conference. If God helps you and you survive the delegates conference, that's the internal one, they'll remove you at the actual election as well. Because you see, it's about who has money. And Alfred, if you have $74,000 now, times 15, that's about 1 million. If on election day in my primaries, you go and give my opponent 1 million Ghana cedis there and there, Muntu Abranche Mame, Oye de Dodo, Muyino, and you give delegates 5,000 each, hot money from the oven, I won't survive it.
And that's what leads to the people who are watching, and some of them questioning the real commitment of you in the fight against this illegal mining.
You see,
because you are direct and indirect beneficiaries of this illegal trade.
You see, those monies,
they are funding your parties.
No, you see, those monies,
the campaigns of members of parliament.
Let me tell you, galamsey money, you don't trade it in the market space. It's not a trading that takes place in the market space. So it is always difficult to unmask the root of it. But I have always maintained, Alfred, that is there a way, because of the livelihood concern, that we can all ensure regulation, responsible mining. Because as for mining, to say you ban it completely will be almost an impossibility. But is there a way? And that is where persons like my senior brother Adam, who thankfully is also an engineer, if we can develop an engineering model that ensures that, one, our water bodies are protected, because that for me is the greater concern. Intergenerational issues, sustainability issues, so that if at the end my water body is protected, nobody is going to divert the water course. Do you know the painful thing today? The Bui Dam. Its integrity is under risk now. Do you know why? There's mining going on in the Savannah region.
Dollar power.
And because of that, the Shamfines, have you seen a Shamfine before? They go deep and, basically mix the F. And because of that, the Bui Dam is beginning, there's massive silting happening downstream. And so the end result is that you're going to have a situation where even the structural integrity of the dam will be compromised. We need that. In all of this conversation, I've not heard the mentioning of the role of traditional authorities. Look, I'll give you one example. I did a movement into one of the regions.
I'm looking at the time that has been allocated to everybody.
Yeah. No, I've already put on record what I intend to do. Yeah. So you are already spent much of your time.
One of the regions, Alfred, so that I can conclude on this.
Yes, conclude.
The role of traditional authority.
Yes, conclude.
Look, Nana Domahin made a public pronouncement that the Doma enclave, you dare not come there. That word is like the most potent. Do you know why? When I went to the region and asked, so how is ABCD happening? They said, look, in this region, if you go to the Banda areas, you go to this, it's happening. But Doma, from the day Nana Domahin made that pronouncement, nobody has attempted entering into the Doma area forest. Look, when Otunfo made the point that once he get proven evidence that the chief under his watch and direction or control is engaged in this illegal mining, there will be summary distillment of that chief. The chiefs have become very cautious. And in fact, now, of the Kashmir grounds for distillment, involvement in Galamsey is now one. It has never happened. So the role of traditional authorities is key. In all these things that I've heard today, nobody had mentioned them. The politicians.
Okay.
Look, you see, the 1992 Constitution created a legal construction. What's that legal construction? It says that once you see a natural resource, it is being held in trust for the people by the president. But the chief out there believes that, what is this? Our forebears gave us this gold, and we must use it for the development of our people.
I see. Well,
now we have come up with legal instruments like Mineral Development Fund, all of those. Once communities begin to see the impact of the Mineral Development Fund in their locality, they will see that it is better than that money going into few individual pockets. And that is the only way the communities will join the fight. Because the things that are happening in the mining or the forest reserve within the various localities, if you empower the community members to deal with them, they will overpower which miner or whatever. Yes, the miners are heavily armed, but we need to involve key stakeholders like traditional authorities in this fight. If not, they will go and support the miners, I mean the small scale, the illegal mining. Always remember that there is lawful mining.
And there's illegal mining. And this where there's been that call, and that's what Professor Jampo, I'm going to come to you, and that call that Professor Jampo was making earlier. And Darrell, you had also made that call that beyond just revoking the licenses that were issued after December 7, the CEO of the Minerals Commission should also be made to answer questions, apart from these commanders who are also being called upon. The IGP is being called upon to reshuffle them. The CEO of the Minerals Commission should also be held accountable for what exactly?
Yes, Alfred, I think, let me pick it first from the police commander's angle. You remember almost two weeks ago, we had a press conference, and we were even very emphatic, very specific. Working in the eastern region, we talked about the Eastern South police commander, also the divisional commander, all within the Chebi enclave, who we think that we don't understand why Galamsey is at a level of impunity, and they seem to be very quiet and inactive as to what needs to be done about it. I think it's the same way we see how the licensing regime should go. If the ministry, and through the Honorable Minister for Lands, has come out to say, look, we are revoking licenses after December 7th because of procedural irregularities, then the question you ask yourself is that, who gave out those concessions? How were they given? And if you listen, it says that they were rushed through the process. As you know, when transition is going on, a lot of things happen. Yeah. So if this happened, so who supervised that? And we have already had issues, seriously, over the years as to who supervised all these messy licenses that has been given out. We've had licenses going over major rivers in this country. We've had licenses overlapping with forest reserves in this country. How is it possible that the person who supervises, gives out these concessions, is still at post? And we don't understand. And that's the reason why, if the state is going to incur a cost, likely, because you have revoked people's licenses, they are likely to come to you. Some will challenge you, others will say, look, but some will challenge you. Why is one person, CEO, still at post when we say that the licenses he gave are not tenable? I think he should also be holding his post. And that is why I believe that we really need to deal with that particular aspect.
You're asking Martin Aisi to be asked questions?
Not only ask questions. See, from where we are, if we really want to reset the mineral and mining governance in this country, the leadership must be changed. I mean, we are not confident anymore in looking at how many licenses has been given out, where they were given out, and all of that. I think it doesn't make sense. And that's why we believe that the CEO of the Minerals Commission must be changed. We need somebody who has due diligence, who has intergenerational equity, responsible mining as key principle for every mineral license that is issued in this country. We have not seen that as play. And that for us is really makes it very difficult for us to trust the kind of leadership we have now at the Minerals Commission.
For example, I spent with the support of
they've all had two rounds. Two rounds.
I spent. No,
they've all had 2 rounds.
Let's keep focus. You know, I spent some 3 days in the Tiwa forest with the support of Arocha Ghana, doing some documentaries in there about the extent of illegal mining. Yeah. I met some of the Galamsey operators. They gave me an idea of what we are all talking about. As to the big men who are funding the activities in this forest reserve. I want to take a look at this, and then I'll come to you on it.
In the end, one thing remains clear, that the fight against illegal mining is far from over.
No sponsor, no oh, been a sponsor. Yeah, director.
That the fight against illegal mining is far from over.
No sponsor, no oh, been a sponsor. Yeah, director.
So that's the well, yes, you're right about the risk.
That your director, you lose his job. Because you don't say this. It's a cardinal sin.
Well,
to even say that director, you are the director. You understand?
But let me say this, that Duji, I'm listening to you, but I think that you subtly, the way you are subtly explaining the problem looks like, the thing has been there with us since Adam, and I don't want that approach.
Yeah.
I don't want us to say it's been there since Adam, it's been with us all this while, and so if you say that, then it relaxes the kind of radicalism that I believe should be radical approach.
I gave you the example. You see, in the 1990s, there were families that were established into drugs. Until the leader, Jerry Rawlings, said, look, if you go for the head, all others will fall in line.
Okay.
That resulted in the arrest of very powerful persons, both here and outside. And once they were, their trial and everything, in those days, if you wake up every morning, Benjilo, you remember? You remember, Prof?
Indeed.
This was a very powerful, it was a very powerful person. And look at him going to court every day, the trial, the news report on him and everything. That trial, immediately he got convicted. Put fear in everybody that, hey, if Benjilo of all person can't be arrested, I am saying that we can adopt that strategy.
Okay.
Going forward. No, so I want us to focus on, rather than talking about how intractable the problem is and how it's been with us for long, I want us to focus on what this current government is doing and must do to radically confront, the challenge. Because for some of us, we are watching. And at the appropriate time, when we think that, remember, one of the reasons why UTAG, I tabled a motion to UTAG National Executive Committee that our strike action against the government amounted to romancing a stone at a particular point in time, and so we should pull it off. I tabled that motion, and then we were told that go and consult the various campuses must vote in support of that motion. On my own University of Ghana campus, I lost. because they said they still wanted to remain on strike. But other campuses, you know, all voted, and we put the numbers together and we said we should call off the strike. Why did we say we should call off the strike? We did so because the strike was not aimed at just making anybody unpopular. It was aimed at compelling a government to do the needful. Okay, but at one point in time, when we were on and on, we realized that the government itself had checked out, the government itself had collapsed. Parliament, one leg of the government, was broken. The president himself, on many occasions, was not in the country. The various ministers responsible for managing, handling some of these things, you call them and then they beg you, please, we are in the villages, we are in our constituency campaigning for power. Okay, so you are compelling a government to do something, but the government is non-existent. What do you do? So I tabled that motion. Okay, so unknown to the ignoramuses, I was the one who actually initiated that. Look, let us call off the strike. But what do we have to do? After calling off the strike, we said, let us meet with the various presidential aspirants and sign a pact with them that if you come to power within 3 months, we should be seen. We should seem to have taken certain initiatives aimed at addressing the problem. Okay, we signed a pact with President Mahama. We signed a pact with Dr. Baumia. We signed a pact and we worked with Ghana Coalition on Galamsey, led by engineer Ken Ashibi. Okay, we signed a pact, and soon after the government came into power, UTAG, we went to the presidency and told them that, remember, the point is we don't want to be fighting. Okay, so just remember the pact that you have signed with us and go by it. And we were promised that, look, we'll go by it. In the next couple of days, UTAG National Executive Committee is holding a meeting and we are summoning the Minister for Natural Resources, okay, to come and brief us what some of the activities that they are doing. If what he is doing is found acceptable by UTAG, they will comment. If it's not acceptable, you hear them. But the point I'm trying to make is that the fight against Galamsey is a non-negotiable fight. Okay, that is why I get annoyed when people who yesterday said we shouldn't fight Galamsey are now I hear them talking that today, because they have lost power, they are calling on some of us to be pushing the government to be fighting Galamsey. And I'm saying that for some of us, our conscience is pricked by our conviction. Our conscience is not pricked by partisan political calls of partyful soldiers. We know what to do. At the right time, we'll do it. It is not up to you to tell us that go and speak, go and talk. You, who yesterday was saying that Galamsey fight, we should continue. You have a whole medical doctor. We have politicized everything. Excessive partisanship, I've always said, breeds madness. You have a whole medical doctor who comes out publicly to say that we will not stop fighting Galamsey, and that the water bodies are not being polluted. You have a whole member of parliament who go on the floor of parliament to make an argument in support of Galamsey. Simply because you lost power, you say we should begin to make the government unpopular. I'm saying that the fight against Galamsey is a non-negotiable one. We'll fight it. But some people in the opposition, it doesn't lie in their mouth to speak even about this. They should just remain silent and continue to bleed and allow the conscience and voices of the nation to be able to keep the government on. So with the greatest of respect to this government, I'm saying it that so far I've seen a few things that are being done. At least, let me say this, UTAG was trying to get the Minister for Natural Resources, Lands and Natural Resources. It was difficult. I said, let me do it myself. I contacted him. I told him, look, these my people. Look, if you don't respond to them, we'll make sure that you don't. I said a few things. Oh, Prof, I've not seen the letter. I'll honor the invitation. I said, yes. I compare it to other ministers who we contacted, and they say won't come. In fact, some of them, if they have told us that they will not come, we would have had some peace of. They will tell you we'll come. Last minute, the day you are holding the meeting, then they said no, we can't make it. Some openly snubbed us. If I compare the response of the current ministers to our call that come and let us talk about what you are doing, okay, if I look at the response they give to us and I juxtapose it with the arrogant response of the previous government, then it gives me a certain hope. Number two, I've heard President Mahama talking about this matter in a certain way. I've heard the new IGP also making some comments about this in a particular way.
This is a war.
Well,
it's declared
I mean,
war.
so some of the things, you see, some of the fight can also be won. Let me tell you, when I became CEO of Ghana Shippers Authority, some of my utterances have sent a certain messages to some people, especially those who owe and don't want to pay, and those who don't want to be regulated. Okay, so sometimes, if you are determined to fight a war, it must start from the way and manner you speak about the situation. And so I respect the fact that some have disagreed with some of the initiatives that the government is taking to address the challenge. And it is up to all of us as a people to continue to be making some of, offering some of these constructive criticisms about some of the things that they are doing, with a view to shaping them so that they can do it, they can prosecute the agenda of fighting Galamsey, do so and do it with all the strength that they have and the power that. This is the time that the NDC government can act. This is the time. This is the time. If you wait till an election year, and you start behaving like the MPP when they were exiting in power, Ghanaians will never forgive this regime. And so, President Mahama, I respectfully call on you that this is the time. And for you, I asked you, why do you want to be president for just 4 years? He said, Ransford, I just want to reset Ghana and leave a legacy. Okay, so let it be part of your legacy. I was expecting President Akufo-Addo that he was an old man and he was not going to contest an election again, and so he would. I was expecting him to have taken on the fight against illegal mining, and I was expecting him to have been more combative in fighting that, the menace, so that we would have added it to his legacy, okay, as president. But he didn't care about it. President Mahama, I expect you, after 4 years, you not be president again. And I'm calling on you respectfully that let us do all we can as a people and as a nation. You have the power, you are an executive president, you have the coercive apparatus of the state behind you. Do all you can as a president, and let us remember you tomorrow that you are gone, that it was under your aegis and it was under your leadership that we were able to put an end or minimize illegal mining and how it is destroying our environment, destroying human life. It is under your term and tenure that we were able to reduce, this phenomenon to the barest minimum. And I think that posterity will be very kind to you. And so let nobody pander to the intractability of the problem. Let us not give up by saying, look, it has been with us, it is difficult. I know it has been done by NDC people, it's been done by MP people, but the fact that Galamsey is done by people in power, people in opposition, should not prevent anybody from appreciating the dangers it poses to human health, the dangers it poses to our very survival. Okay? So I am saying this, and I'm sounding a warning that if nothing seriously is done about this phenomenon, UTAG will speak in a certain language. I know, because there's been several meetings upon meetings, and those who think that you guys are not talking again, like I said, our conscience is pricked by our conviction. You signed a pact with somebody, and you gave him 3 months. And you told him that after 3 months, we'll come to see whether you have done, if you've at least commenced something. The 3 months has not lapsed. And then you say we should go about talking. We don't talk for the fun of it. We talk, we speak to bring impact. We don't just open our mouth. We are not a NATO organization, no action, talk only organization, NATO. No. Okay? We talk and we speak for impact. And so we'll wait. We'll meet with the minister for lands and natural resources. We'll ask for briefing. If we think that things that he is doing are not enough, we'll offer constructive suggestion. If we have to criticize, we'll offer constructive criticism. If they block access to them, then you hear speaking. Around the time that we're talking plenty, they had blocked all access Okay, but when you have access to make an impact, if you have access to make suggestions and all that, and the suggestions will be taken, and you will not be met, people will not call you. In the days that we're fighting, they will call you on the scene and say, behind the scene, and tell you that what you are saying is true. What you are saying is true. But if we do it, we'll lose an election. You didn't do it, you've lost election. So what are you talking about? President Mahama, with the greatest of respect, this is the time, at the beginning, crack the whip, be drastic about the fight against Galamsey. Do it now until you get your second, the third year, or until you get to the time where your party may be seeking for another election. Then that time, it becomes a bit difficult. Let us solve the problem now before the next election, so that we will be able to have a certain message again to speak to. Ghanaians are discerning. If you go to them and tell them that under your tenure and during your party's regime, you were able to also do your best to secure our livelihood, to secure our very source of, living, and to secure the environment, I think they are wise, they are discerning enough, and they will give you the nod again. So
one of the demands that you made in that communique, in fact, the reasons why you went on strike last year, is the repeal of the LI 2462.
Yes. Yeah.
That law giving access to companies to mine in forest reserves.
Yes.
The process to have it off our books started this week. But then, not a repeal, but a review of aspects of the law.
Okay.
That is not what you demanded.
Yeah, last night I had a conversation with Engineer Ashigbe, and then he had serious reservations about it. I mean, he believes that the whole law should be repealed and not to tinker with aspects of it. I mean, these are some of the things that will come before us as UTAG. When the National Executive Committee meets, I will meet with them to go and bid them farewell, to be my last meeting with them. But these are things that I'm sure will be tabled by the minister before us.
But we don't have time.
We don't have time, I agree. No, this is the next couple of days.
Yes.
The next couple of days we are meeting,
Okay.
And so, if it comes, we'll take a collective decision. If we think that the entirety of that law should be garbage, we'll make that demand, because
that was a demand you made already.
No.
The
I'm
repeal
saying
of the LI 2462 is one that UTAG.
Yeah, we did it. Listen, we made, but I'm saying that now they have come out with their position that seeks to, instead of repealing, they seek to amend or tweak it, tinker it here and there. Okay, and in our fight, especially in preparing this pact and ensuring its signing, we worked with the Ghana Coalition against Galamsey. And the head, Engineer Ashigbe, yesterday night, I had a discussion with him about this. And then he was telling me that he feels that we should go the route of abrogate or throwing the whole entire law, into the garbage rather than tinkering it. And this position will be considered. And once we think that yes, our original position, we should stick to it, we'll stick to it and make that demand to the minister and give the needed pressure and needed support to ensure that it becomes, it comes into fruition.
So you support
just to 30 seconds. You see, Prof, this conversation about, sometimes I think we should graduate the conversation. It helps. Okay, so an instrument was passed in 2022. Let's get the background.
Yeah.
Okay, and this instrument has in it Regulation 3, Sub-Regulation 2. And this is what the provision says. A person shall not issue a license or permit to any person to undertake mining activities, including exploration activity in the following areas. A, globally significant biodiversity area, a protected provenance area, institutional research plot, a hill sanctuary, among others. Then 2, this is where the problem is. Despite paragraph A of sub-regulation 1, the president may, subject to Article 268 of the Constitution, give approval in writing to a mining company to undertake mining activity in a globally significant biodiversity area in the national interest. This is where the catch is. This is a power that the ally purportedly gave the president, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo,
Yes.
in 2022. In 2 years, over 1,000 licenses were given out to mining area.
Okay.
President Mahama comes and says, look, as president, I admire this provision. It gives me a discretion to grant approval. I don't need it.
Okay.
I want, hold on. I want this express, hold on, 30 seconds. I want this express provision revoked.
Okay.
Taking that power from me. This is a president, at least for whatever is worth, has demonstrated that he doesn't need this power. He is ceding that power back.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to have anything to do.
Okay.
We must first recognize that, look, this is a president that has demonstrated good faith, but we want more.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. I think that's how we should structure the conversation.
Okay. No, but I think that Darrell.
You see the framing. Look, it's important. It's important you frame the conversation well. So at this point, President John Dramani Mahama has taken a political decision that this power that President Akufo-Addo used to grant over 1,000 permits or licenses, I don't need it. So first say, oh, Mr. President, we appreciate this gesture. However, we think that the entire legislation to go. But when you make the impression is
we have done some work of the minister that we're expecting to do. So when we meet, some of these things will come up.
See, I think respectfully, I think that where we should come from. You see, I think
let's frame the conversation
His
well.
Excellency, yes, has demonstrated some good faith. That we agree. But there's more issues with this airline. Okay. Than just about that particular.
You see, I want the conversation framed properly. So it is not that we acknowledge. This is the provision. The president said, I don't need it. My predecessor used this provision.
You made that point.
But
I don't need it.
Yes.
But I'm still on the floor. I've not finished.
Okay.
I'm still on the floor.
No.
I've not finished.
No, I've not finished. Firstly, let me clarify this point here. So, I mean, we agree that His Excellency has demonstrated some good faith in respect of the airline. But we also remind His Excellency that prior to we even getting to the point of the election and the campaign and the issues with the pact and all of that, there was a consensus across board. And His Excellency also agreed with that. And I remember on countless platforms, he indicated that he was going to repeal this airline. And even just when he was even swearing his own, the Honorable Emmanuel Amaboa, he actually charged him and made a statement that he was going to repeal that airline.
Is there nothing good about the airline?
Let's see. Let me tell you something. You see, an airline is not in its entirety bad. Okay. But there's a lot of provisions in here that makes this worse off than ever. And let me explain. Okay. So, if we actually go by the present instrument as is before Parliament, we are only going to be able to secure and save less than 10% of Ghana's forest reserves. If we go by the instrument currently before Parliament, which is seeking to, review or amend Section 3, Sub-Regulation Regulation 3, Sub-Regulation 2, it will only save less than 10% of Ghana's forest reserves.
I see.
The basis for which this airline was first of all enacted was coming from an environmental guideline which allowed for mining in production forest reserves. And that guideline even had a cap as to what percentage of forest reserve you could have access to. You cannot mine more than 2% of the total area of all production forest reserves in this country. Now, if you take away the GSBA, which is less than 10% of Ghana's forest reserve, there are also about 260 forest reserves, or even more, which would need to be secured. But at the moment, we have not really taken any action to deal with those aspects of the law. And that's why we are saying that if we only amend the section as has been presented to Parliament, only less than 10% of our forest reserves are going to be saved. I see. No other forest reserve in this country will be saved from our interest.
In the election conversation, on this same platform, the concern was that the president had the power, contrary to the dictates of Section 3, Regulation 3, to grant permits to enter into globally social and so areas. That was how the conversation was framed, you know. And President Mahama, in agreeing to the pact, said, this is the concern. I, as president, I will take it off. Today, true to his words. But I understand where you say, okay, there are portions of the airline also which provides the Minerals Commission and EPA, among other things, the opportunity to do. And so if the conversation, then let's have it holistic. Oh, yes. And then repeal the other provision, then we can do it. But to say that the entire airline should be abrogated, I think that what we can do, and he knows it, there's a principle called severability. Even for the courts, you can actually take away a portion from a main legislation if that portion is considered offensive. Okay. So if there are other provisions which are offensive, do not permit, you know, resource governance, proper resource governance, let's table it and suggest to minister. Look, thankfully, Minister Kofi Boah is one listening minister you can have. Look, yesterday, I was telling him that one of the professors, he said, look, did you give me his number so that I'll reach out to him? He is so very affable.
I think it was just the Utah call.
Yeah, the Utah call, exactly. So I had the same. So I reached out to him and I said, Minister, there's a Utah so person, Prof, who says he's trying to reach you. He said, did you give me the number? I'll call him. Because I want to bring everybody on board. Utah, all the people that were involved. Quite a listening gentleman. So I strongly believe that maybe what we can all do, and engineer is here, let's identify the portions, because it has about 50-something regulations, 54 regulations more or less. We can identify portions of the regulations which are offensive, and then isolate them for the purposes of repeal.
Let me bring in engineer Dr. Kenneth.
I think the review...
whether this position, yes, as espoused by engineer, you had Digital Maklo there, that some commitment has been demonstrated. And so don't throw away the entire airline. There are portions of it that would be able to keep. Let me find out your thoughts on this.
I mean, you see, this is the place where I depart with the politicians. The president said he was going to repeal the law. This thing of saying it's a power he did not want. The president said he was going to repeal the law. I'm sharing with you some videos of things he has said. The law itself, again, my brother talks about the Minister for Lands. The law was not sponsored by the Minister of Lands. The law was sponsored by through the EPA. Go and check the EPA Act, whether they have any parent act that enables them to be able to bring an ally. I'm a lawyer. I'm just an MA in IT law student who's trying to, but that's the basic thing you know. You will not be able to build anything on nothing. That airline is built on nothing. So, and to tell you the truth, myself and Daryl and Co, we are in court on this particular law. So for me, the first principle is that His Excellency has walked the talk, which is one of the new things that we've not seen a very long time with our governance. When you look at political manifestos and the numbers that attempt, to become policies. But this is one president that's beginning to do that, who has actually given us a 120-day, social contract, and a lot of them he is following, including the number of days he was going to, get his ministers and all of that. He's doing that.
That's why some of us are not talking.
Yes, but you should be
good faith.
No, the good faith is happening, but you need to support him to do the right thing. So, but we are in this particular one, he's not walking the talk. The things he said to us is not what is being done. The interesting thing I'm finding out is whether the AG, who was the chairman of the subsidiary legislative committee, whether he has anything to do with this change that is happening. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting dynamics that is at play. But so that's one of it. The fact that even the EPA does not have a law that they are building this airline on is a fundamental challenge that we face. Let me tell you one very significant thing. In the past, the regulation that Darrell was talking about, what happened is that if you want to go and mine in a forest reserve, it is you start with the Forestry Commission. But currently go into Regulation 4 of this that obnoxious law, and you will find out that it will point you to a Schedule 1, where the way, if you're going to mine, again, if you take the GSBs, as we said, there are several forest reserves that now we can go into. If you're going to mine, you will go to the Minerals Commission, go to the EPA, even the minister will get involved. Before now, you will come to the poor CEO of the Forestry Commission, whose boss, the minister, has already said this thing should happen. And if you do that, what you will also do is that these people would have spent a lot of money before the Forestry Commission would now come and be telling them that, no, you can't go and mine in this. So I think that what should have happened was to get this law repealed, as His Excellency had said, and then maybe come and want to introduce another ally, build it properly. Because if you are going to talk about mining in forest reserves, the first thing you want to do is that which are the commissions that are the natural resource governance commissions. So that if it's either the Forestry Commission or the Minerals Commission, then you build LI based on that. And again, bear in mind, this LI was Nicodemously done. Very Nicodemously done. And the intent of this particular LI was to allow His Excellency, the former president, to go into the Tiwa forest. It is the reason why this thing about, the GSBs was introduced into this. So the intent itself of the law was very bad. So if we really want now to say that we want to be able to, again, and some mining companies have been able to successfully mine in forest reserves for a very long time, controlled. So if that is what we want to do, then we still are mindful of our 2% that we want to do and all of that. Then let's come and make sure that we have the stakeholder engagement is done. Everybody has an input into this. But let me just remind all of us.
Okay.
You know that around the Etiwa forest that they are talking about bauxite, there are a lot of gold mining being done around it.
Yes.
So have you brought your mind to all the bauxite that is leaving our country? Have we thought about the gold that could possibly be in that particular ore? Because that mineral, we just export it all. We just export. So how much of Ghana's resources is leaving? So all of these are things that we need to be thinking about. So if you, and you see again, and I'm sure all of us who are sitting here support green mining. So we are all in support of the fact that mining should happen. But the only thing is that mining should happen in a way that is sustainable, that allows all of us. Yeah. So that's what we are preaching. We're not preaching and saying don't mine. Mining should happen, but it should happen very sustainably. I can tell you that even small scale miners, that if you go into places that they have mined now, you will not be able to tell. But the reason why when Eduji talks about the price of gold is because these people, when they mine, they now don't have to spend the money in doing the reclamation. So then when they take that $70,000 that Eduji is talking about, they take it away. But let me also add one little thing too. You know that if you take an acre of land where you want to do galamsey, you can get up to $6,000. And when you get that $6,000, it is done. If you take that same acre of land and you plant avocado, in the first 3-4 years, you might not get anything. After 4 years, you can make that $6,000 in a year. And after the 4th year, you can make $6,000 till about 40 years when a decline will happen. If you take cocoa, it's about $4,000. So there are a lot of alternatives to these things. The only thing is that we need to do the heavy thinking. And the issue about the mode of mining sustainably, they exist and we know it. And so one of the things I throw to Professor Jampo, who currently is part of the government, and then Eduji, my brother, is the fact that the technology the tracking technology is available. That one, the pilot has been done. Ghanaian engineered. I'm pleading with them, and I'll speak to, I think I mentioned it to Honorable Amabu Fibua when we met, that this is something that it is there. It is a low-hanging fruit. They should take it immediately. And let me tell you the reason why we all need to support. If we don't support Mr. Amabu Fibua, what is going to happen is that the NDC people, the MPP people who now have gone behind the NDC people, you know what they've done? Now they've gone to them and say, you know, your government was in power then, and you your government has come into power, you can take 60%, 70%. I have the excavator. And then we will manage. So that's what they are doing. So if we don't really hurry up and support this minister, who instead of all the other things is concentrating on fighting Galamsey, or my brother Mutala in the EPA, who is also pushing very hard, and now the interior minister who's begun to do. What would happen is that after a while, the point that Eduji makes, these people are so rich that if you are not careful, the pressure that would be coming. So it is important that all of us, you know, who are committed to this fight, really bring all our A game to this and put the pressure on the president, working together with him. The good things that they are doing, support them in doing it for us to be able to win this particular. The ally should go.
Right, you said the ally should go. You maintain that position, but there's also, this whole well-intended, as you have put it, the approach to fight illegal mining with all these inter-ministry, inter-agency approach and the president's own disposition as well. I mean, it's not going to be a walk in the park, is it not? Because of the people who are behind it and benefiting from it as well, the political parties and indeed some members of parliament. So that's where the challenge is. That has to also be acknowledged, isn't it?
Alfred,
a quick one.
Alfred, you are spot on. That is why, for me, again, that's one of the things that His Excellency is not doing that he needs to do. The NDC MP for our way has been accused by his traditional authority of being involved in Galamsey. He has counter-accused and said he's not involved in it. But, you know, so His Excellency, the same way he ordered the investigative bodies to investigate the national service thing, he should be ordering that. The NDC constituency chairperson for the Axim area has been accused by one of the large-scale miners of being involved in Galamsey. His Excellency should, as a matter of urgency, demonstrate that he's different from President Anado, whose Minister for Lands had accused his Ashanti regional chairperson of being involved in Galamsey. And I asked him a question in Gofordia, that what was he going to do about this? And for me, I think it's the lowest point of President Anado's presidency, where he lies openly. And in answering my question, like lawyers, as he says that Akunta mining is not involved in Galamsey as we speak. The question I asked him was an Agama lizard question, and he decided to answer a tilapia question. The question was the damage the people had done. And Eduju and the lawyers will tell you, and you know, my friend Martin will tell you that these crimes, there's no time limitation.
Okay.
So what would you? So the presidency should make sure that immediately he orders and openly orders this investigation into this. I know the speaker said he's working on the MP one, but then immediately as well, as Martin Pebu said, the president should be ordering the police. If the evidence they've gone to give to the AG is wishy-washy, they should intensify that investigation into Akunta mining. They should also look into the issues of Heritage Imperial. Heritage Imperial was given a prospecting license, and they went into one of the forest reserves, and they took about 36 excavated and started mining. And they took Erastus to court. In their court document, in their submission, they themselves confessed that they are mining activity. They did not say exploration activity. So they confessed to that particular one. And we had written to the EPA there, and the EPA had confirmed to us that they did not have a permit to mine. So that is also another people who were involved in illegal mining, politically connected people who had lawyers who were the cousins of the president, and because of that. So,
Right.
When it is that it is the political will, this is what it means. And
Right.
one of the things to be able to cure it immediately is His Excellency. And again, I know that he's working on it with his people, but he needs to do it openly so that the rest of the people will know that we are touching even the MP for our win. We are touching the NDC constituency chairman. So if you are some small boy who go into it, you know that we will touch you.
Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe, I thank you very much for joining us. He is the convener of the Ghana Coalition Against Illegal Mining, and then also Darubosu was Deputy National Director of Arocha, Ghana. Now, we're going to go for a quick break. When we're back, we'll go into our next issue, and that is this week, the former governor of the central bank's residence was searched by national security operatives. The authority in Parliament addressed a press conference this week on that matter, indicating that monies were stolen. Some money was stolen to the tune of 10,000 cedis, and also some jewelry belonging to the wife of the governor. Well, the national security, their operations don't respond to these things publicly. But then again, there's a concern as to how this warrant was executed. We would deal with that matter this morning after this quick break. And as always, I am clothed this morning by Kogra Clothing. It's the best version of you. You can call them for this outfit and many others you've seen me wear on Key Point on 026 055 8056. That is 026 055 8056. Kogra Clothing. Choose right. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us. tv3news.com. And as always, Key Point is on a number of radio stations across the world and also across the country. And I acknowledge the messages from you. This one says, good morning. Well, this relates to the next issue that we're going to deal with. Mensa Majid from Bichim says, many licenses that were issued to these illegal miners, and this fight won't be easy, but I trust that all you have said today would be listened to and acted upon. Musa Abatwa Naswasi says, Alfred, I'm absolutely thrilled with the 2020. Okay. I'm really impressed with how the conversation on legal mining is being handled so far. The approach is thoughtful and free of partisan rhetoric, which makes the discussion much more productive. I particularly appreciate Eduji's analysis and concerns about what has to be done going forward. We would also hold him to it as well. Eduji is clear, insightful, and focused on real solutions. You'll say, thank you. This one here from Prince Kofredia says, Ghanaians should have the trust and hope in government to reset and give us the next Ghana that we want. We will continue to ask the right questions and demand the answers thereof. Ghanaians, it says, should give all the necessary, it says, support that needs to also be given. Thank you. Nana Otu Echampon says, there are 3 issues that must be addressed. All these that have been spoken about today demands nothing else but transparency from government. It cannot be wished away that some NDC persons, as Engineer Kenachigbe has indicated, an MP and some party chairman are reported to have been involved in illegal mining. We must see decisive action taken by the president to send the right signal. You say, thank you very much for your message this morning. And as always, I am clothed by Kogra Clothing. That's the best version of you. You can get this outfit and many others that you've seen me wear on Key Point. You can call them on 0244-238-341. That's 0244-238-341 and 026-055-8056, 026-055-8056. Let me remind you that after here, all my guests together with you, I'm inviting you, our viewers, to join us at the 3FM Gobe Festival. It's taking place at the Legon City Mall, just behind the Legon Police Station, not the East Legon Police Station, the Legon Police Station. So the Legon City Mall car park, that's where the 3FM Gobe Festival is taking place, starting at 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. So join us. This week, pardon.
I'll go there some.
You'll go. I'm inviting you. This week, the operatives of national security paid a visit to the former governor of the central bank. Some circles have described it as a raid. I say it's a search. But the Deputy Attorney General Justice Edem Sremsai, doctor, says there was a warrant that was actually used in executing that search on the former governor's residence. And the videos and some of the pictures we've seen of some CCTV camera connections that were disabled, and the minority also gave details of vehicles that were driven from his residence and the hard drive of this CCTV camera also taken away. Now, this is Deputy Attorney General giving details of the said warrant that the national security used for this exercise. Take a look.
Concerns are on 2 sides. There are a group of people who believe that the AG is actually being slow, and there's another group of people who are of the view that the AG is being aggressive. I mean, last night there were some searches conducted in some homes, and the views are divided. But I would like to assure the public that we are, as much as we can, pursuing persons who are believed or are suspected to have looted, state assets, being money or other properties. We are committed, and work is going on day and night for that to be done. Most importantly, we are also doing so within the framework of rule of law, because as you may know, there have been instances in the past where persons who are suspected have been arrested in manners that don't comply with the rule of law, where violation of human rights and other laws have been broken just because people are suspected. We've also witnessed instances where people have been put on trial for years without any evidence and without any conviction, without any trial, and they wake up, go to court, and they are just spending money on lawyers. We are determined, and when I say we, I mean my boss, the Attorney General. He is of the view, his policy is that he will not put anyone before any court without having sufficient evidence to prosecute the person. So the reason for the delay we are seeing, or what most of the public are seeing as delay, is that we are making sure that we get it right, we get the evidence before we put someone in court. We are not in the business, or we will not be in the business of putting people before the court and now seeking permission to go and now look for the evidence. At least we must have what we call sufficient evidence to be able to put people before criminal court.
Council, so you are saying the searches, including the former BOG governor, was sanctioned by your office?
So the offices, there are so many. So if you look at how government works, we work with other institutions, and people submit complaints. So, but every search that you see, is part of the government framework to fight the corruption, and we'll take responsibility for the search that are happening. And we want to make it clear that those searches and the mode in which they were done in accordance with law. Warrants were procured, and warrants were used to conduct those searches.
Well, that's Dr. Justice Adam Shrem side there. It says those searches that were done and the mode in which it was done in accordance with the law because there were warrants. But the minority questions that particular position. Alexander Afenyomaken, the minority leader, addressed the press this week, give some detail, and some monies, according to him, that were stolen, and other items as well. Take a look.
We've heard of some raids, and in some cases, these so-called security operatives rob these officials when they are leaving their premises. First was a raid on the home of the former finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, led by one Jakpa, Richard Jakpa, a known NDC activist who describes himself as Director of Operations at the National Security. The majority leader, when this matter came before Parliament, apologized on the floor of the House in respect of this lawless conduct. At dawn yesterday, specifically at 5 a.m., Mr. Richard Jakpa was at it again. This time, he led armed men to the residence of Dr. Addison, the former governor of the Central Bank. According to Jakpa, he had a warrant to search the premises of Dr. Addison at his Roman Ridge residence. Again, when Dr. Addison inquired from him, he told him that he was looking for a vault, which to them, the man had some money, cash, in it. They forced their way, overpowered the security, and entered his premises. This Rambo-style approach must cease. This is the first time in the history of our country that a governor of a central bank is being subjected to such a treatment, very traumatizing. In fact, at the end of their raid, they could not find anything. Unfortunately for the governor, some 10,000 cedis on his bed could not be found. So some of these hungry party foot soldiers that they use, who parade themselves as national security operatives, after all, perhaps not even being paid, and they use this opportunity to steal. The governor's wife's earrings and necklaces were also not traced. They couldn't be found. In other words, those operatives stole these earrings and necklaces. Ghana is a mature democracy, and we should do better.
That's Alexander Apenyoma King there. Now, joining us, Daraboso has left us because he was part of the first conversation specific, and then also Engineer Dr. Kenachigbe has left us as well because of the first conversation that we had to deal with. Joining us is Colonel Festus Aboagye, retired. He is a security expert and also with knowledge about the workings of the security architecture in this country. So it's very important for this conversation. Colonel Festus Aboagye, retired. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Great. Now, I'll start with you, Martin Bebo. You heard the minority there, the concerns that they raised before we get into the matter of the allegations of money stolen. The Deputy Attorney General says that whatever was done, the searches and the mode in which it was done in accordance with the law. The minority raises concerns about the execution of that warrant. Did they have a concern in there?
Oh, yes. They have a lot to say about execution of the warrant because, you see, the problem is that when it comes to national security doing a search, they have not laid out SOPs. You see, when it comes to the police, this book, the police have the what do you call it? The service instructions. So you see Ghana Police Service instructions. You go to 191, you see the procedures that the police have for execution of a search warrant. It's not the best. As usual, you know, Ghana, when we're doing this, is often they will involve a broad mass of lawyers, etc., for people to contribute. It's done secretively. But at least when you read, you see that there's an attempt. But like I'm saying, it's not the best. Maybe it's about time the police did a review. And they should invite us. You know, we come here, we read around a lot. So we have ideas on a lot of stuff. When you read the police one, you see that there are a lot of stuff that are not in it. We can help to improve it, right?
I see.
Unfortunately for the national security, we just have the Act 1030.
The Securities and Intelligence Agencies Act.
Yes. So you go to Section 34, then it talks about application for a warrant, right? Then 35, the things that they should tell the court in order to get a warrant. Then 36, that's about it. Okay, so they don't have like what the police do. So you see that because of that, then even the execution itself raises a concern because the Constitution says in Article 23 that administrative bodies must be fair, right, and reasonable in the way they do things. Administrative bodies must be fair and reasonable in the way they discharge their duties. So if you're coming to somebody's house, you should at least beforehand lay out all the rules about how you carry out your work. And don't forget, you know, national security is still an administrative body. It's not like, you know, we've always, in times past, suppose that national security is even beyond Ghana Police Service, etc. No, that's not true. It's just there when you look into the Constitution, the architecture of the National Security Council. Yes, it's made up of the heads of the security agencies, etc. Yes, but once you're going to function, you have to function within the Constitution. Article 23 says that administrative bodies must be fair and reasonable in the way they do their things. So, if you go into somebody's house with a search warrant, you don't give him a copy, then straight away, you are not being fair and reasonable. give him a copy of what you have. You read, you go to the US, there are federal rules of procedure. This is our act, the one that we use. This is 1960, so as usual, it's way behind, right? So you don't see that Governor Addison is giving a copy of the search warrant. That's wrong. You should give him a copy. Then he knows that, okay, you are here to search for and take this. So that if what you want to take, like what we've seen, the picture, that they've taken his server and those stuff, if that is it, then he'll point out, oh, this is it. So you take it, then you are gone. You take it, then you are gone. So that you don't now go into his house and turn the house upside down. No. So national security...
We're going to get into that.
Your canons to define what is reasonable.
For example,
yes, because we are learned in the law. Yes. So standard, when the law says we should be reasonable, the first thing you'll be looking is that, and that's what we do even in our constitutional...
No.
And that's our training.
Gentlemen, listen, let's maintain some decorum in here. Make your point. Gentlemen, don't obstruct his...
Are you a professor of political
science? Let's keep focus. Don't obstruct his reasoning. People, make your point. You're saying that the NPP have a case. They have a case.
You see, and by the way, I'm sure having sat here, you know me from the years past, that Governor Addison is one of the persons I can't wait to see in a court of law. He should answer for the money he printed, right? He didn't fight Akufo-Addo enough. I've said that even the way he printed the money for Akufo-Addo, causing inflation in our economy and the rest, I even suspect that he benefited. And true, not long after this Okujeto did this, he came out that they gave him property, right? Later, Cantonment, Addison came out to say all previous governors have benefited. I said, well, for me, all I'm saying is that the money he was printing, he couldn't have done that for free. And thank God we've seen evidence that he benefited, right?
Okay, well,
but that aside, it's public knowledge.
Yes.
He's not denying it.
Yes, I just wanted to say that we don't know, but that aside.
Yes, Governor Addison benefited. So for me, that is benefit for the money printed.
But that aside.
So me, I'm the same person saying that he benefited, but it doesn't mean that if the law is being applied to him in a manner that is not fair and reasonable, I should keep quiet. It's as if, they've gotten somebody you were looking for, so keep quiet, let them treat him anyhow. No, Mr. Ocansey, if we do that, tomorrow it could be you. It could be Professor Jampu or myself, right? So anything we do, we look at stuff that will promote the progress of Ghana. I don't have to say, yes, when we're telling him that he shouldn't print money for Akufo-Addo like that, he didn't listen, so he serves it right. We can't do that. Let's look at the law. So, Professor Jampo, Article 23 says that be fair and reasonable. So if you're coming to somebody's house to search, you see, as part of the fairness, as a reasoning, let him see a copy and read through so that what you are looking for, he can easily hand it over to you if he wants to cooperate. Thank you. Right? And that would help. Now, so because not every officer of national security will be able to do this reasoning, that's why for the police, in their wisdom, they did the service instructions. It's not only for searches, what do you call it, bail, etc. Even bicycle, police property, bicycle, horses, everything. That's what you find in the police service instructions, funerals. The way they will go and play music at the funeral of a colleague, etc. Everything is there, so that we all realize that not everybody can reason to the same capacity. So have the rules there, so that, like Alice in Wonderland, we've always said that make the rules before, so that everybody can read and be guided.
Let me help you. See,
no. For example, yes.
So the question is that do they have a consent? And we're making the point that yes, because the national security have not come out with their service instructions about how this is to be done, it's bound to give problems. Then I'm going on. Even the police one, it doesn't mention, right, the fact that when the person is going in to search him too. Search the police officer who is going in, the officers, they themselves, and video it. They'll search. Okay, there's nothing on you.
To plant anything.
Exactly, and at the time you exit, be searched again. Videotape distance. I don't know how we would. Want to rule a country and we don't want to apply. We are not progressive or forward thinking. If it is true that Japa led the search. Jakpa, knowing that, oh, some months ago we're here defending him, more or less, doing advocacy when he was standing before courts. So Jakpa should also be what? Magnanimous in victory. We sat here at this table. We kept baying at the judges that no, Jakpa must have justice. So Jakpa should know that once Ghanaians fought for him when he was in trouble, when he's going to lead a team, I hope we agree that so far it's been said that it's Jakpa who led it, right?
Well, if that's not been disputed.
If it's not true, I withdraw. But so far in the media, that's why. So he should be a good example of somebody who wants to give another person justice. You see, because let's not forget, you see in the Jakpa case, it was uncontroverted that the money that was paid, the 2-point-something million, Jakpa alone made over $700,000. Yet when the case came, we were interested in the fairness.
Was it dollars or euros?
Euros, thank you. It's even more. The euro is even heavier than the dollar. Very good, okay? But the point we're making is I see that when Jakpa had this problem, it was uncontroverted that over $2 million that was paid, his agency fee looked too huge. It looked disproportionate, and it even created suspicions. Yet at that time, we said, listen, it's not about the money Jakpa is made. We want to apply the law. We sat here and ignored how much money Jakpa made and concentrated on the law, saying that once Godfrey Dami was taped, trying to perjure Jakpa, telling him to go and lie to the court, etc., we ignore the huge sum of money Jakpa made in that contract. Because, hey, to be paid less than 3 million euros and the agent gets over 700,000, you start suspecting corruption, etc. But at that time, we said, no, look, we can't use the huge money Jakpa has made as an excuse to forget the law and say that they should throw him in. So we concentrated on the law, which is that Godfrey Dami should not be holding such conversations with Jakpa, etc. And eventually, you saw how the Court of Appeal looked at the matter and threw it out. So that is justice. So Jakpa should be the last person to execute a warrant in a manner that should embarrass JM like he's doing. Please, Jakpa should be the last person to execute a warrant, a search warrant, in a manner that will embarrass JM. Because when it's like that, then it's like, oh, we've worked in vain. You were in trouble. We're arguing law for you. We close our eyes to the colossal sums of money Jakpa made on that contract. And we concentrated on law. Today you are free. They ask you to go and execute a warrant, and then you do it in a manner that embarrasses the whole government. No, that's not on. That's not the kind of democracy we fought. So the point number 2 is that they should have searched themselves before and after and videoed it. Then today that there is trouble, you would have played the videos and look at us when we're entering, see what we said. So that is what I'm saying, that they haven't, national security, they've not done. So we need to do like the police have done. So the police have attempted, look at this. And I'm saying that search warrant, you see that they've come out with how they will do the search. And I'm saying that it's outdated. So we need to
review or improve.
Add the searches.
But so that improvement is what you are
that's what we are saying.
So you see, if this videoing and all of that was done, then it would answer the question of whether they took money or they stole money, in the words of Alexander Penyomakin, 10,000 cedis and jewelry.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. Because at the point of exit, like an exit interview, okay? Or like the military say, when you leave the operation, debriefing. So as part of it, you search. So
that video and search, is it done at the residence before they leave?
Yes, so that before they leave, so that it will show that, look, we've been searched, there's nothing. We've taken nothing. So that you would go. But to go and do it, and as I keep saying, see, national security need to realize that now Ghanaians have become, we are more enlightened now. It's not like those days that at the mention of national security, everybody kept quiet. No, it's changed. It's changed. You know, for years now, you remember even with Fire also West Wagon, we came and sat here and showed how the law was bad. We were very clear in our minds that national security is not a police force. They have no right to do tactical operations, etc. Then they went to change the law. That's how come they came with Act 1030. So now you see there's a lot more room for tactical operations. That's sending men to do this. But still, they haven't done it enough. They will need standard operating procedures. That's the service instructions. So that as citizens, we are forewarned. We'll be able to read about all of this so that when we hear national security is going to conduct a search, then we take the standard operating measures and procedures and begin to check. Right. Do they follow this? Did they do this? Did they do this? And that's how come it's important that they come to answer.
They come to answer.
Yes, they must answer. Like we said,
whether or not they took 10,000 cedis.
Yes, they must answer. They must answer. If they ignore it, they will lose more. If they ignore this, they will lose more. As I've said, look, national security should realize that Ghana is changed. It's not like those days where we used to think they are super police. They are not super police. They are an intelligence agency. If you read the constitution, they gather information, then they analyze. Okay, so the threats, the things that would bring about anything that will affect generally the generality of the people. So they even tell you that today they do whole of the nation approach. Okay, so when they do their things, they carry citizens along. We no longer look at them like super police. No. Those days are gone. It went with the Ayawasu Wagon by-election. Ayawasu West Wagon by-election. When national security, the body, those people, the party foot soldiers who were given uniforms with their mask, DSP Azugu, that thing. So you see how the inquiry was made on TV, Ghanaians saw it, laughed, and then we showed that we're not going to countenance such a thing in our democracy. So you see that they stopped being direct police. So today, if you enter the premises, you see that there's a police station inside the National Security Ministry so that the police do what they can do to help the national security because they are basically an intelligence agency. So when they are going to be involved in these kind of things, they need to be careful. Otherwise, it's like the way they say, if you like playing with a puppy, what does it do? It will lick your nose. Don't play with puppies because we've said that yours is national security. You're an intelligence agency. So you're supposed to gather intelligence, analyze, etc. for the security of the country. So these specific ones, I'm even wondering, going to the governor's home to search, etc. Couldn't NIB have done it? Couldn't regular police have done it? Because we no longer fear national security as a super police. No. If that's the thinking they have, please, they should get rid of it. They are not super police. They just have a different remit. Those days, I'm national security, I'm national. They are gone. Because, look, I mean, it's even here that in this new act, you see that now they give them opportunity to use arms. Every officer is authorized. But at the time of Ayawasu West Wogon, the law, the previous law that was in operation, no, for a national security officer to carry a weapon, he needed authorization. But you see, when you go into this one now, they've just made it anyhow that they can carry. No, which is not good. So you see that increasingly, they want to be involved in tactical operations, coming on the grounds and, you know, those Rambo styles. Please, it's too late in the day. Well, we are building a solid democracy for ourselves. So anytime you have this power to exercise, please, be circumspect, be fair and reasonable in how you do it. In this modern day, you can't go in there and do a search in a manner that will raise so much suspicion, bring so much reputational damage to the government. At least they should have even learned a bit from the Ofuriata one, which happened last month, right? No. And then whilst we are to, before we forget, let's mention the act itself needs to be amended. There's a part of it that says that this search warrant, if they don't want to go to a judge for it, okay, then they can go to a senior police officer. Right. So meaning that instead of going to the court, they could have chosen to go to a senior police officer. And I'm like, oh, how? Why would you do that? Let's read section 34, subsection 2. It says, the application for the warrant shall be made in writing to a justice. Okay, so justice, that's a judge. A justice means High Court, Court of Appeal, Supreme Court, right? But when you read generally, they mean High Court. The chairperson of a tribunal, so that's also a court. Right. Or a senior police officer, not below the rank of a superintendent or above. So, yeah. Or a senior police officer. We need to remove the senior police officer because already now, Ghanaians are showing that they don't want, for search warrants, they want the courts to control. Because when you come to the Act 30, when they went to Furiata's house, we could show that the Act 30, Section 94, a policeman can come into your house, from ASP onwards, okay, or if he's below ASP, if he's given authorization from an ASP or above, they can come in street and start searching without the supervision of a court. And Ghanaians have shown that, no, we don't want that thing. For a search warrant, it must come from the court. So we need to amend this law so that police cannot just come and search. They need to go to court for a warrant. But here, it's saying that ASP or above, so a DSP, DCOP, etc., can come straight and start searching without a court warrant. And then here, national security is saying that for them, instead of going to a court, they can go to a superintendent of police and take a warrant. Let's remove it, because we don't know when it will be abused.
So even though the deputy AG says this search at the former governor's residence and the mode in which it was done was legal, you question that.
And, absolutely.
And
1,000
you
times.
support the MPP's concerns raised about this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Except that, you see, the MPP too should be careful. The matter of this 10,000 Ghana, you see, I have been saying that politicians are crooks. What I used to say last year, I'll continue to say, let's be careful. Sometimes you get the impression that the 10,000 is just being mentioned as a ruse. I'm entitled to say it. I say I get the impression, that's my personal gut feeling, that sometimes to tilt public opinion and to embarrass this government, people throw in things, oh, they've stolen this, they've stolen that.
But right? It's incumbent on the national security to also come out and,
yes,
and address it.
Yes, and then after that, there should be an investigation. There should be an investigation.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, bring you on this, because the fairness and reasonability of the execution of the warrant is where Lawyer Martin Kpebu raises concerns about what was done, even though there was a warrant for that particular exercise.
And body cams. Why were they not wearing body cams? Videotaping, like what we say. Wear body cams. Now we are demanding that the body cams is an essential thing, and it goes also for the police.
Right.
We are searching. Let the whole thing be videotaped. Wear body cams. So the police spent a huge sum of money on buying body cams. We don't know what came of it.
Martin, I think you've made your point. But you see, this morning, I have been listening to my learned senior, Martin Amidu.
You mean Martin Kpebu?
Usually Martin Kpebu, sorry. And he makes very interesting points. But at the bottom, I asked myself, Martin, were you there? The resolution of that issue resolves the matter. You are speaking of an account by Mr. Afenyomakin without more. How is that fair? In a conversation on fairness and reasonableness. In a conversation founded on fairness and reasonableness, you premise your conversation and your submission on hearsay. You were not there. And now you take on Richard Jakpa. That is framing prejudice.
Why is that? On what basis?
You see, he comes by saying, oh, Jakpa, we kind of supported you in the past. And so you must conduct yourself in a particular way. How did he conduct himself? It would have been a different proposition if, in going into the house of Governor Addison, one, it was done without a warrant. Two, he was not shown the benefit of the warrants and what he says as we speak. Leonard Senior, the Deputy Attorney General has confirmed that when the national security entered the house of Mr. Addison, they did that under a lawful warrant. Do you know the dictates of the warrant and what is in it?
No, but do you know?
That's not my conversation. So far, has Mr. or Dr. Addison spoken? No. He was there. He has not spoken. He has not also said his lawful representative or lawyer or spokesperson is Afenyomakin. But you have premised your conversation on the conduct or otherwise of Richard Jakpa on the basis of Afenyomakin's claims.
But he raised
in a conversation bordering on fairness and reasonableness. would you pass the test?
Absolutely. What did I?
No, hold on. I'm coming. Senior, please. When you were talking, I was making notes.
The concern about giving him a copy.
I beg
Is there any record of that as well?
Has Dr. No, hold on. Has Dr. Addison said he was not shown a copy?
No, it's the same as
Please, Senior, I beg you. Was it shown that we have, you see, Article 18 protects your property from interference, except otherwise provided for by law. The exception is when you have a lawful warrant to enter a premise. As at the time, when national security entered the house of Dr. Addison, did they have the benefit of a warrant? What is in the warrant? As we speak, the person whose house was raided has not spoken. In all of this conversation, I was not there. Malene Senior Martin Kwebu was not there. Afenyo Makin, who is speaking, was not there. But we want to believe his version. And you see, this is what happens. We are running a constitutional democracy. A constitutional democracy that is founded on the basic principle of fairness and reasonableness. Article 23. Right? Look, when, what do we call it? Ken Oforiate's issue came up. People talk here and there. You know he issued a writ on trespassing. Have you noticed, curiously, that Richie Jakpa is not one of the defendants?
No, the two.
Have you asked yourself
officers.
why?
Why?
His face we saw. If anybody should be in contention for trespass, he should be the leader. But have you seen that in the suit alleging trespass, curiously Richie Jakpa's name is not in. It's a media framing. Okay. Put him in a bad light. Hound him out of operational issues to achieve what? Which law of this republic today has Richie Jakpa violated? Which law of our land? But we have put him on the table and crucified him. Tell me one, that in terms of the operational directives, in terms of the operational dictates of either our security agencies, this conduct of Richard Jakpa violates A, B, C, D. And like I pointed out, when Mr. Ken Oforiatta decided to sue the people he claimed invaded his premises or his house, curiously, Richard Jakpa is not one of the named defendants.
The police, he sued the police, a different suit from the national security.
No, but I'm saying that they went to the house.
Yes,
he
the
led them.
police one is separate.
No, he went there together.
He only did
Please hold on. That's the point I'm making, that conspicuously his name is missing on the face of the ring. But now this is the issue. Under the 1992 Constitution, even when a member of parliament makes defamatory statements about you on the floor, he is insulated from defamatory kind of claims. So, cleverly, Malene Senior Afenyo Makin, recognizing this constitutional protection for him, uses the premises of parliament and makes a very wild claim that, and he says, quote, a man who describes himself as a national security operative, in reference to Richard Jakpa. Malene Senior appreciate that, yes, of course, Richard Jakpa works at the national security. As director of operations, he knows. But you see, cleverly, he describes him. He describes himself. When you were speaking, was he a certain minority leader or the minority leader of parliament? At least, at the barest minimum, we can have issues with people. But once they carry the responsibility of the state, at least you can disagree with him. But that is the office that he's holding.
Arrogance, condescension.
So he basically makes Richard Jakpa feel like he's a filth. Yeah. He's not wealthy.
He's fond
of that description that is an operative. And proceeds that NDC hungry food soldiers, Afenyo Makin, who for 8 years worked with Double at National Security, today has the courage to call people hungry NDC party foot soldiers. Please, Senior, you hold a very high position as the minority leader. Ordinarily, I won't say this on air. But you see, when you disrespect other public officers, they have a responsibility to disrespect you in equal manner. Oh, yes.
It's a responsibility.
Yes. Because if you can call Richie Jakpa somebody who is carrying lawful duty, you can criticize how it is done. But at the moment when he entered that premise, he was an operative of the national security. You can disagree with him.
So how should and there is the question about that
now he goes.
Made.
Please, I beg you.
Of the 10,000 CDs. And
yes, I'm coming there. But you see, he makes that. Stealing is defamatory if it's not proven, if it's not true. You understand? But he knows he's a member of parliament. He enjoys immunity for defamatory actions. And so he cleverly abuses that immunity and privilege that he has as a member of parliament. So you notice that, hold on, at the point where he made this claim, he was doing it at the 4 courts of parliament. So that once you bring these actions, he quickly runs under the rubrics of having a certain protection from parliament. Look, first of all, where is this claim of embarrassment? So far, I have not heard Dr. Addison, the former governor, say that when the national security operatives, or even his lawyers, make the point that when they came to his house, they did A, B, C, D. So far, he's not made any statement. Why? Why? And so we should be very careful. You see, if we are not, a time will come, nobody will be willing to do this work. Do you know why? Because we'll get to a point where, like Malene Senior made the point, oh, GM has been embarrassed, and so. Where is the embarrassment? I want to know. No, because you see, the mere fact, you see, I have a senior who used to say that liars do not have stamina. Okay? Liars don't have stamina. The reasoning being that you are already out there saying A, B, C, D. Malene Senior Afenyomakin quickly came out and said, oh, the former National Signal Bureau boss who was arrested, apparently they had put his name in the immigration records. Look, every day, here and there. You remember that recently somebody sued Ghana Immigration and obtained 900 million or thousand. Exactly. Every single day, people's names are put at the various borders to ensure that if you are traveling ABCD. When those matters, so when he came, the Yoko who had done that proceeded to effect his arrest. Very soon, the Attorney General will be addressing the press. Let's see, between Afenyomakin and what they have done, who is really for the state. And I will plead with my senior Afenyomakin. He should hasten slowly. Because you see, the danger is that if you are quick in accusing people, you are not in Governor Addison's house, but you go out there and say, hungry NDC foot soldiers have gone and stolen 10,000 Ghana cedis and Mrs. Addison's jewelry. Senior, you were not there. Addison didn't call you.
Oh, that one, are you sure?
Well,
no.
Which one?
Addison didn't call him because this.
No, hold on. No, you are not getting the point I am making. So relax. I am saying that Addison didn't call him to come and witness the search. So whatever he's saying is hearsay.
Hearsay from who?
Exactly the question.
No, if Governor Addison didn't tell him this, then who did?
Did he provide you the source of his information? when he was not there.
Were seen seated in the pictures, as we've seen there.
That's after the fact.
Governor Addison was there. Good.
You don't. No, you are not getting my. No. The point I am making is that it is after the facts. It is not as though when the search was happening, Afenyo, was with them.
Right.
That's the point I'm making. So if he was not there at the time the search was happening, whatever information you are putting out becomes a secondary source. It's not primary.
Oh, but first, NDSA is admissible in court.
No, please,
yes,
I beg
it's
you.
Admissible.
I beg you. That's not the conversation. You are making a specific claim of stealing. You have done this law work better than I have. Under cross-examination, if you should ask Afenyo a simple question, were you there when this money you claim was stolen? His answer will not be pre-verification, will be binary. Either he was there or he was not. You know, you taught us this.
Yes.
At this point where he makes this, assuming it's even from Mr. Addison, is it enough for a charge of stealing, senior?
So that's maybe.
Please. So all that I am saying is that we should be fair to all sides. I have sat here and questioned previously how these national security raids were done in the past. I've even maintained that sometimes the courtesy is, knowing who you are, A, B, C, D. I have been in court with former governor, what's the name, Dr. Dufo, where a prayer for bail was made for him. That, look at this man, his stature, former governor, so and so, he has served this country, distinguished person, grant himself recognizance bail. The court said no, we'll give him bail at 65 million Ghana cedis. And I said, oh, my lord, I beg you, 65 million now is effectively a refusal of bail. We have gone through things. There are better ways to do this engagement. You understand? But I'm saying that when we deliberately frame up Richard Jakpa, and look at the facts you put out, and he did business, and he got this, and he did that. Look, Malene Senior, I beg you, in the name of God, just be fair to Richard Jakpa. The reason why I say this is that, look, I've been part of this political conversation for a while. It is easier to frame somebody up for hounding in order to limit his operational abilities. More so when the person possibly may be doing what is legally permissible. We can always have issues and criticize, but is that fair enough? So, on this note, I just want to say that, look, where in this case, there has not been any single allegation directly from Mr. Addison himself, we ought to be very careful. Addison is a respected person. He's done his work for this republic. If in the course of his public duties, some wrongdoings were or happened, nothing precludes our law enforcement officers proceeding. I will be the first person to call for the protection of his rights as a Ghanaian. And like we always say, we are all entitled to the benefit of due process. I saw how President Trump had his Mar-a-Lago facility searched. There were no body cams. That's a very advanced democracy. There were no body cams. But hold on. CNN followed subsequently. But the point, hold on. But the point I am making is that in all of this conversation, we can be fair to parties on both sides so that it doesn't look like somebody is doing something never heard of. As for my senior Afenyo Makin, he's a politician just as I am. Anything that puts John Mahama in the bad lights, he has the reverse thinking that it inures to him politically. And so framing the Mahama administration in the particular light that they are doing something untoward, politically is beneficial to him. But let's interrogate the issues further. That in terms of the operational workings of the national security, have they done anything contrary to the rules of law or the rules of engagement?
That's the question that I put to Colonel Festus Obaje retired. In the operations of the national security, as you do know it, and the execution of this particular warrant, was anything untoward done? And we'll put the Securities and Intelligence Act 2020, that's the Act 1030 on the screen. Because the last time this was amended was sometime in 2020. And Martin Pebu wants a further amendment to improve on the law in responding to the exigencies of the times. But this is what the functions of national security intelligence agencies are. Brief the President, the National Security Council, and any other relevant stakeholder on intelligence gathered internally relevant to the national security interests of the country. Next, also monitor, collect, analyze, evaluate, retain, and disseminate in an appropriate manner information and intelligence gathered internally and perform internally, that's intelligence operations, and be responsible for the counter-intelligence and so on, both internally in order to prevent and counter violent extremism and so on and so forth. Colonel.
Well, thank you very much. Let me first say hello to my learned political scientists and their learned legal counsels. I think the sense I get is that these events are being politicized. And instead of framing the events in a national security context, parties are choosing to make political capital out of them. And the clear evidence of the politicization of this particular event, as well as the former finance ministers and one Lord Comey that I don't even know about, I don't know, is a description of these events as raids.
Can you imagine?
Because a raid is a technical term before you come to the general usage of the term. A raid is a sudden attack. So you normally hear that an Israeli Air Force or Israeli planes or whatever planes have raided. Sudden use of force to attack a place. That's what is called a raid. So centuries ago, the Moors were raiding communities in order to capture slaves. They came on horseback without notice, without warning, surprised them, captured as many of the people that they were looking for, and then burned the villages. Now, that is not what we are seeing here. What we are seeing here, first of all, is the context of a legal framework that we call national security, which allows a certain institution to be able, based on intelligence or the acquisition of intelligence, to enter the properties of citizens, to look for specific things. So the Deputy Attorney General has told us that a court warrant was obtained. We need to assume and give him the benefit of the doubt. And therefore, the legality is settled. That once the Attorney General's outfit says that a bench warrant was obtained, then we need probably to discuss other aspects of, the event or the activity, which I think Senior Counsel Martin Pebu and my other learned friend, Edugyi Tamaklo, have pronounced themselves very well on. But you see, in every society, it is not only law that is used to govern. It is law and practice, or law and tradition, what the accounts will call a manier, the way and manner in which things are done. So if you have a national security outfit, which in the ideal case must be those public servants or officers formulating policies based on intelligence acquired and so on, but then relying on the other institutions that are constitutionally part of the architecture. So in this case, I would have expected that if there were police elements, the police elements would have come from the Ghana Police Service. If they needed other protective whatever, maybe from the Ghana Armed Forces. If they were going to deal with substances, maybe Narcotics Control Board or Customs or Immigration, depending on the context of that case, national security could mobilize any other elements. But you need those officers, one of whom happens to be Richard Japa, that I don't even know, I haven't met him before. But I'm told that he's not director of operations. He's head of special operations at the National Security Outfit. So let's assume, and I think we're all working with assumption because the case has been made, that a lot of the conversation is based on what the honorable minority leader has come to tell us. And some of us are asking questions. Why is Dr. Addison not coming out to tell us what happened? Why has he not gone to the police to report the loss of his cash and property and so on? Why is the honorable minority leader assuming the role of a counsel to, what's his name, Dr. Addison? And then you see clearly that he's using a lot of pejorative words.
Which is what?
Which have been discussed. For instance, he says that hungry. Is that what Dr. Addison told him? That those who came there were hungry and they were looking for food and went to his kitchen. Obviously, if Dr. Addison told him anything, I don't think Dr. Addison described them as hungry, not being paid and looking for opportunities to steal. Why is the honorable minority leader using these pejorative words to frame, what's his name, Richard Japa in a certain way? So that's the politicization of the case. I think you should have just, in fact, I don't even understand why we went there. Look, a few years ago, a couple of years ago, I was sitting in my house when I got 2 telephone calls separately. I must go and see the director or head of now NIB. Then the other one came that the National Security Minister wanted to see me. Did anybody hear about this? The only rumors that Colonel Abuaji had been arrested. I was not arrested. I was invited and I went to those meetings. Look, for public interest sake, what I was told was that I had said certain things in the media. I was entitled to say them. What I said was true, but the state did not expect me, Colonel Abuaji, to say those things. I mean, is that what democracy is about?
No.
That because I'm a retired colonel, there are certain things I must not say. You see, if the NDC at the time had gotten wind of it and had come to me and had told them what happened, then they took to the air and said that Colonel Abuaji is now being hounded. You see what I mean? I kept quiet about it. And a few people that I met who asked me, I said, no, I was not arrested. Indeed, the meeting with the National Security Minister was at a very posh restaurant, over a 5-course meal.
Very open.
So I wouldn't go out and say that the state is hounding me. Do you get the idea? Indeed. Now, why is the Honorable Deputy Minority Leader being the spokesperson for governor? In all of this conversation, we have not even come to the objective, the object of the search. It is only over the last 48 or so hours that, which is not good practice anyway, because the Malarago one that you mentioned, the FBI came out, put the pictures there, we saw the boxes, they spread the classified documents, there for all of us to see. The challenge you have is that in our part of this world and in our culture of democracy, we don't owe it as a responsibility to inform the people as to what it is that we are doing. But I am aware that national security is feeding bits and pieces of information into the media space. And what is coming out, unless it is contested, is that there was intelligence that Governor Addison, and I'm speaking on what it is that I have checked when I got the social media information, checked from a source within national security.
You've checked this with a national security source?
A certain individual within national security, that he had wired his place with what they call backdoor electronic devices.
The reason why I ask is that because we don't know.
That's why I'm saying that I'm telling you that, in fact, since then I've received multiple versions of it, including one by Kevin Taylor and so on and so forth that some of you don't want to hear about. But he had devices in his house wired to the Bank of Ghana, which enabled him to be monitoring what was, in fact, monitoring is a very diplomatic word. This is spying. This is surveillance. And the state has not authorized anybody in the form of a Bank of Ghana or a former Bank of Ghana to mount surveillance on the premises of the Bank of Ghana.
But why does he want to do that?
So that was the intelligence that the state had. And to be able, as I think he was explaining, or the Deputy Attorney General was explaining, they needed now to go to get the evidence. So the wires that we saw, the naked wires, were the wires into the device, which again, for political reasons, people have been saying that they were, what do you call, CCTV cameras that were retrieved from the premises. So as far as I'm concerned, that was the objective of that search. But even if they were CCTV cameras, we all know that Governor Addison, and I think Senior Counsel Martin Pebo has described it, is involved in some investigations around whether it is monetary policy or financial, whatever it is, printing of money, what I think the Americans call quantitative easing, over and beyond what our laws allow a government, the 5% of the previous whatever, blah, 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 that kind of stuff.
That's correct.
So the state has the right, like the state invited me, that we have heard you say certain things in the media, but they were not able to tell me that what I said was wrong. Because some people were saying that I should be, I was causing
fear and panic.
Not even fear, a stronger word than that. So some people, even in the media space, were asking that I should be charged and prosecuted. But of course, the authorities knew that everything that I said, like I'm saying, is within my remit to say them. So we need to be very, very mindful that we don't make politics out of this. Because if national security is not able to enter houses, and there is evidence that he has adduced. Look, this gentleman, I think you mentioned his name. I stand to be corrected. Honorable Inusa. He didn't contest. I think he's checked out of politics. Yes. Look, 8 years ago, there was one of them, 8 years ago, as a minister or deputy, he left certain surveillance devices in his office behind a portrait. Then the NPP came to power, and whoever occupied the office detected that those devices were there. What did the NPP say at the time? They said that the NDC was mounting surveillance on them. Now, the gentleman came out publicly and apologized that he forgot. He should have removed them. In any case, he was not allowed, as a government official, to surveil his own office. So these are the realities. The state by law is allowed in the form of national security institutions to mount surveillance, but not as an individual. And the question I think Professor Jampo just whispered is, why would Governor Addison mount surveillance on the Bank of Ghana? What was he seeking to do? One of the reports coming out is that based on what he was seeing and hearing, he was able to place calls back to certain individuals, to direct them as to what to do or whatever it is. Is he influencing the investigations going on or what? By the time that he checked out, yes, he's got a few days, I think, up to the end of March.
That is, if this information you are getting is anything to
No,
go by.
legally, his retirement from Bank of Ghana, I think, is at the end of this March. But officially, he is no longer the governor. So he should have disconnected those devices. Why was he still having the devices operational? So there are questions for him to answer. In the interest of the stability of the state, and my humble advice would be that, yes, politicians can, pronounce themselves on some of these things, but we should not politicize them and then use those kinds of pejorative words. I was glad that you said it. The fact that 10,000 Ghana cedi, in fact, sometimes people are even saying that it's dollars or foreign currency. Now, the fact that some money and jewelry got lost at Governor Addison's... Yeah, it's an allegation. You cannot then jump several hurdles and conclude that it is a national security operatives led by Mr. Jakpa or whoever who stole the money. And I am indeed, I think the English word is demented. When I hear a lawyer of the caliber of the Honorable Minority Leader breaching the principles of, or is it the ethics? Yeah, these are ethics. That because you have lost something and I came to your house, I, Festus Abuadi, am the one who stole the item. When I have not been proven in any court of law. And indeed, the owner of the property has not even gone to any police station, to make such a case. So let's use the right words. These things happen. From Kwame Nkrumah's time as a young boy at South Central, I was aware that Kwame Nkrumah's security operatives were all over the places, especially if you were rich. I saw somebody being taken from his house, a wealthy man, without a portmanteau, a few gatherings in the scarf of his wife. And what I was told as a young boy was that from there straight to Nsawam. So every state has a right to investigate some of these circumstances. We must not use a raid, and they went for a vote, and this and that, all of which are being thrown into the mix in order to confuse Ghanaians and then make political capital out of them. Well, these are the few comments that I think I wish to. But on the procedures, look, even in the absence of specific search procedures for national security, this is a law enforcement activity. And law enforcement, constitutionally, is the terrain of the national police. So even if you don't have as an institution, you'll be minded to go by the prescriptions of. Which is why, in the event that the armed forces, for instance, have to conduct a search, they should not go and use the military ways of raiding in order to search a citizen's property in peacetime. They should then come down and place themselves at the level of law enforcement. In that context, you'll be going with a search team or a search party, the few individuals who are trained in how to search or what to look for. You have lookouts. So when you enter the house, you still have other people outside. You have communications to wherever you want to have the communications, to go to. And then I would expect that Governor Addison, because of his academic or whatever background, would know that he had a right to ask them, do you have that piece of paper they call a bench warrant? And I think the Attorney General has said it. Then to go a step further and say, what is there?
The details of
the details. Is it a phone that they were supposed to go and look for? But even that, if you come to my house and ask me, Professor Sabuaji, do you have a phone? Yes, I have a phone. Where is it? This is it. You should ask me, do you have other phones? Well, I'm telling you, since my days at the OAU, 2000, the first phone that I used, this phone, that phone, they are all sitting in my house.
I see. Assuming he doesn't even ask, or the person who's going to be searched doesn't ask of the details of the warrant, is it also incumbent on the operative or whichever security agency personnel to show the person the details of the said warrant?
It's an obligation. It's an obligation because when the police is arresting you, First of all, they announce themselves as being whoever they are. Then they tell you why they are arresting you. They cannot just arrest you and handcuff you or wherever it is. You see, so per the same principle, you need to tell the person, we are here, we are from national security, we are coming to search your premises, we have been authorized by this piece of paper. And you can have a look at it. Now, if, as lawyer Martin Pebu is saying, they must even have another copy that they serve on the, that is better. If they have body cams, that is better. So my final word is that, look, this democracy was not invented by our forefathers. We borrowed the culture from somewhere. We must practice our democracy the way those who brought democracy here, operate with it. And the Mar-a-Lago one is a clear example. You go on TV every day, you see events happening in the US, America, wherever. Then you see law enforcement officials together with their police counterparts, district level, county level, state level, parading themselves and briefing the media. Why is national security in Ghana, not this time, going back, not able to come out and tell Ghanaians that for this or that and that reason, we went to so and so, of course, not before, but after. After. We should be interested. Because as you call it in the media, this is a public interest story. You see what I mean?
So you expect that the national security should publicly engage the Ghanaian people through the media, have a press conference, for instance, on this matter, to also set the record straight or respond to these allegations that have been made against them because of the impact of public perception when this festers for long.
If they had done that, all of this conversation based only on one narrative probably might not have been necessary, or at least would have had a balanced, informed discussion. But at this moment, all that we are doing is looking at what the Honorable Minority Leader has said.
So those days of national security being silent and, whatever is gone. They should come out and
that
speak.
method that is being used, feeding information through social media, is not the best. Because each time you now need to call somebody and find out, is this thing true? And yesterday I was told, yes, what you are seeing is true. You say it. It's not the best way of managing national security. Come out publicly, call the press or the media, brief them. And then the media will disseminate the information. Then the discussions will go on NEET FM, Asempa, this and that. And then Ghanaians will be informed. And I think that is better for democratic stability.
But you see, the problem with law... No, 30 seconds. Yes. The problem with law enforcement officers putting details of investigations at the preliminary level is also dangerous. Because you see, in the context of an investigation are leads. Now, if you provide somebody you are investigating that these are the things I'm looking for, and the reason or something for this is A, B, C, D, the culprit or the suspect under the circumstance, you are effectively arming the person with potential leads or person you are likely to call in the course of the investigation. And so that's also a danger inherent in disclosures. So you want to just find out how much of the information should be disclosed. And from the learned Deputy Attorney General, he simply said, look, we went, or we had a warrant, so whatever that was done was within the confines of the rule of law. We have not violated anything so far. Maybe we can do more from the perspective you've shared. Right. We can do more. But how much of information can we disclose?
I think that's a question first of all I should be able to answer.
All that I'm saying is
there's that need for that old ways of keeping quiet and allowing whatever. Well, let the public talk. This is our modus operandi. We don't respond to such issues. We should do away with it. How should the response to these allegations against the national security come, and how much information should be put out there?
It is not. I don't see any risk to the process.
Okay.
All I'm saying is that you came to my house with a bench warrant. You showed me what you were looking for. my phone, my water tank. That's what do we call them? Polythene tanks. Or polytanks.
Yes, please.
Because you had intelligence that had staffed them as a former official of, I staffed them with foreign currency, this and that and that. Now, that is not, it's not a classified information. It's already on the bench warrant. And I have every right after you finished to now call, assuming my father is alive, call him and tell him that the police came to my house, that blah, 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 blah. They went under my bed, they looked in my yard to look for freshly dug, whatever it is. If we cannot have that conversation and want to use this African culture or Ghanaian culture of making things hush, 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 then our democracy will not be growing.
Right.
Because in that context, you have the state abusing human rights. Look, if you want to describe a raid in Ghana, the most recent example will be the Ayawaso West Wagon. That is what you call a raid.
Okay.
Yes, the state told us that they had gone there to look for arms and ammunition on the property of one Mr. Brimpon, this, that. But the way and manner in which they conducted the operation was beyond board. By the way, after the operation 2019 January, the state has not able to show Ghanaians the exhibits. Okay. That we found this weapon or these types of weapons and these categories of ammunition. You see, that is what I'm saying we need to change.
Right. We're going to go for this quick break. When I'm back, we'll take Professor Jampo's take on this particular issue. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. This is Key Point. Welcome back. This is Key Point on TV3. Professor Jampo. So, I mean, in the midst of it all, the points that Professor Sabaji made, and he was ending as to how the national security should be responding to this in the interest of their own public image. How should that be handled?
I wanted some more time to also get a more give my take on this, but it appears that the time is gone. But I think that I agree with him that the days where national security operatives acted and everything was shrouded in secrecy, and they are not supposed to be disclosing certain things, I mean, runs contrary to the democratic principles of transparency. And so, remember, I think Kutu Echampon's time, he made a law against rumor. You cannot be peddling rumor. Now, was plenty in Ghana. Yes. So he made a law against the peddling of rumors. And so to prevent the peddling of rumors that sometimes would cast a government into bad light, I believe that it's important that the national security rethinks its operations to include an aspect that makes it interface with the public, so that periodically you can also brief the public about what necessitated which actions, and clarify or respond to some of the charges and allegations that may have been made against them. But I believe that every nation worker must be brought to book. Every suspicion of corruption must be investigated and dealt with, and every act of national sabotage must be confronted. But in doing so, and in doing so, I for now, I'm saying that there should be no Atamilsian attitude and behavior and posturing in confronting them. You know, the Atamilsian attitude is, oh, we know that they are wrong, but leave it, let it go, and all that. Let some of these things be confronted frontally. But in doing so, we must be lawful, we must be fair, and we must be exhibiting some finesse in a manner that addresses what is wrong, but keeps us together as a nation. And so, by all means, let the search go on. By all means, let the court processes go on. By all means, let the prosecutions go on. But let these be done in a manner that keeps us together as a people, absolutely, but address what is wrong. Because we didn't like it when the NDC people suffered this, when power changed hands. And you don't want these things also repeated. And so, in my view, given how he was dealt with, and given the fact that not all can bury their emotions, and given also the fact that there is a certain perception of vendetta that can be created, if I had the opportunity of fielding people, of selecting people to go and carry out some of these operations, I wouldn't have included Jakba. Right. Okay, I would not have included him, because it is always easy for people to read that he's being vindictive. And once people have that perception, or sometimes people can deliberately through that perception just to be able to match-link or undermine the good work that is expected to be done. And I think that we must go about some of these things with some trepidation, so that we would address what is wrong. If people have stolen, if people are sabotaging the national agenda, we should confront them frontally and make sure they are brought to book. But let us do it in such a way that it will not be seen as you being overly vindictive, or it will not polarize us too much. As for Afenyomakin and his utterances, I think he showed his usual arrogant condescension of people. If 10,000 cedis have been stolen, is he a police station? Why wouldn't he allow, or why wouldn't he report, allow his Dr. Addison to go report? He commits a fallacy of converse accident by saying that because the money, 10,000 cedis, has been stolen, necessarily it's been done by some hungry party fool soldiers. I think that he doesn't want to be disrespected. But this comment is very disrespectful of national security. Absolutely. And I think he must be told in the face. He doesn't like it when people are disrespecting him.
You saw his encounter with the journalist. The journalist. I saw the encounter. I mean, respect each other. Concluding.
So I think that he must be told in the face that he's a young man. And he has a very
he's old.
Yeah, he thinks he's old. How old is he?
Thank you.
He's a very
young man.
Don't fall for this.
He's
a young man, but he has been given a certain role in Ghana's democracy, and I would urge him respectfully to be mindful about the enormity of the role, and let the enormity of the role tame him into a certain humility in his public utterances. Last, on the fight against Galamsey, I'm just saying that the difference between Nana Akufo-Addo and John Mahama is that President Mahama will listen. Akufo-Addo will not listen. So I urge respectfully President Mahama to listen to some of the views and suggestions that civil society are making about his quest to fight the canker. And I'm sure that if he incorporates some of these views into what he wants to do, Ghana would make giant strides in fighting galamsey.
Professor Osojampo, thank you. And we're expecting Dr. Atakaneti to join us on this matter of this, so he did it, and that's why we cannot have that conversation. Godwin Eduji Tamaklo, I thank you so much for joining us. Ken Professor Sabuaje, retired, thank you so much. Well, Martin Pebo, appreciate your time. And then also Engineer Dr. Ken Ashibe and Daryl Bosso joined us as well. My name is Alfred Ocansey. Join us at the Legon City Mall for the 3FM Gobe Festival. We are all going there, so join us. Have a great weekend.
No,